morning. Welcome to Brandenburg News Network. This is Donna, Brandenburg. It is the 26th day of January, and welcome to the show this morning. Thank you for joining us. We've got a whole bunch of people that are going to be on today, and we're going to be talking about lots and lots of fun stuff. So I'm going to bring everybody on in just a minute. And good morning, guys. How you doing?
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
What's happening in everybody's world? Hang on one second. I got to mute for just a second. Talk amongst yourselves, and I'll be right there.
Yeah, good day today. It's finally warm, so it's about 40 degrees out here, so like shorts weather.
Yeah.
It's not bad. Everybody managed to save your roof edges this year yet? I know I got a couple repairs I got to do there right in Grand Rapids. Ice took out a bunch of gutters, so my crew is going to be busy for the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, we had an exhaust pipe that went through the roof that got knocked down a little bit.
And coincidentally, that's who I was talking to. It was the HVAC guy that is there to fix the exhaust pipe. So yeah. So what's happening this morning with everybody? Let's talk about we got some important things coming up. First of all, we got the crap going on at the border and the election nonsense that's going on out there. And then also a ray of light in the political world, which if you hate politics, come and join us on Saturday. We do too. We hate politics. But what we are into is running the country, self-governance, and being statesmen. Bill, you want to talk about it a minute? And I'll bring that up.
So tomorrow at 2 p.m., that's Saturday. If you're watching the show late Saturday, then you will have missed it. But at 2 p.m., 27th, we're going to all be meeting down at Center Shot down in Mohr, Michigan. Again, it's at 2 p.m. And we've got quite a few guests there, including Sheriff Dar Leaf from Berry County. I got Paul Urban. I'm excited to see what Paul's going to speak on. He's been right on the forefront of trying to get some of this nonsense removed that the people's house think that they can pull off with no authority. So I'm really excited to see what he's going to be presenting. But we'll have a lot of fun there. We should have a silent auction going. So if you have something to bring, go ahead and bring it. You can put it on the table for donation. There'll also be a gun giveaway right there on site. If you're not going to show up, you are not going to get your name in a hat. That'll be really exciting to see. I really love doing that, by the way. I like being able to put arms in the hands of our people because that is one of the greatest securities to our free state here. So the USTPM is putting this on with the help of Donna and Ralph and myself, and several other people are working behind the scenes on this. All just to reaffirm the constitutional framework that our framers had put in place for this nation. So we're going to be talking about a lot of issues. We're going to be talking about a lot of solutions, trying to get everybody working towards the same goals here instead of being scattered across and being divided to the point where we can't help each other out. So I'm looking forward to it. You should too. And if you're not planning on coming, I would suggest you carve out a little bit of time, even if it's just a couple hours. Try to get there between 2 and 5 at least. It'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think the thing that separates the Constitution Party, which is U.S. Taxpayers Party in Michigan, is that I've seen, because I've been in kind of both worlds, and it truly is a different scenario. It's you don't see people fighting about what to do, though. Somebody like Paul has got referendums of Michigan, and I think he's I like Paul very much. I did when I was running on both parties. He was really just wanting to take the nation. He said he's going to jump on this morning at some point in time too. So I think it's honestly very, anybody who has a conservative viewpoint of how the country should be run, as far as going back to a very constrained government, less government. And I will probably very much enjoy this meeting. The term conservative and liberal, though, they keep changing terms on us. And the term conservative, in my understanding, means conservative less government. Liberal meaning more government, giving more power to the government. And I think that we have taken that, or they've taken it and made it about social issues. Well, it really isn't as much about social issues, though that's what we've been sold. But it really is, how much government do you want in your life? Are you conservative or are you liberal? Are you less involvement? Are you going back to those tenets that truly are simple and unite us? Or are we just going to be fighting about stupid stuff that the government has no right to be involved in, only for the purpose of taking money for people's pet projects? How'd I do? Is that pretty accurate?
Yeah, I think you kind of hit the nail right on the head there. One other key note there regarding terms and definitions. We know Samuel Adams said that tyrants will change the plain meaning of terms to accomplish their goals. Very paraphrase there, but the people that call themselves conservatives today, at least the vast majority of them that I see, would have been considered the liberals of 50 or 60 years ago. We've lessened the goal. We've lessened the standard by which we perceive our country, and that is the standard of the Constitution. There is no higher law than that here. And the more we lessen that, the more conservative sounds okay when you are able to compromise on certain things to get other things done. The Constitution Party, we don't want to compromise anything. We want to return back to the principles on which this nation was founded. And other parties, I don't think anybody on screen here, including Ralph or Karen, I don't think any of us are really party people. We just as soon have them all go away. That's one of the final goals. But all the other parties, they claim to call for the reducing of the size of the government, except for some. Some of them want larger government. But the ones that call themselves conservatives claim to want to reduce the government, but none of them are committed to the lawful constitutional principles that we put in place in prior generations. That's the only way we're going to do it, is by doing it the way that it was set up. There's no new ideas that are going to change this. We have to go back to the old ways we used to do things, and that is to hold the standard, the lawful standard, against these wicked individuals who claim authority that was never been given to them.
Yeah. And in what we're seeing now is we're seeing a lot of people that just want to, they use labels. And I'm so offended with the whole, I hate to say it, but the wolves in sheep's clothing type thing, where there's so much misleading going on out there. It's absolutely crazy. And you have to really spend some time looking at the source of what they're talking about, not just the label. You got to do a little research, or else you're going to be taken right down that path, the primrose path, with them, and get distracted and off in the weeds somewhere. And it's happening all over the place. But the simplest form of government is what really, I don't have to agree with people's views. I can make my own choices in my life, right? But what we fight for is we fight for people to have their own opinion on things. We come together, we talk, and we resolve things in a peace. That's what common law is all about, is a smaller form of government, closer to the people, decentralized, not collectivism, not communism in a grand, because that's really where we're going at right now, the direction that we're going. But it is the rights, fighting for each other's rights to be an individual and to live the life that God created us to live.
That's right. Yeah, and in the multitude of counselors, there is safety. The word tells us, and that's been true all throughout history. If one man is left to try to do it himself, it's going to be done only his way. So the more people get involved, the more ideas come out, the more you can filter through those to determine what the best route is according to the law, according to the way we're supposed to do it. There's many different avenues that people are fighting here, including Darleaf and Paul Urban. They're doing stuff that I don't have the opportunity to do, but they're using their gifts, they're using their positions to accomplish the same purpose. And that's all the U.S. Taxpayers Party is trying to do here. We're a ballot qualified party. We're one of 5 recognized federally. And we use that avenue to be able to find good men and good women to put up and to try to refill our local governments with proper governance, with good governance, like our Constitution says.
Yep. And so there's the meeting here. I'll put it back up again, the meeting. So come and join us. We're going to have food and have a nice time. And I mean, it's fun. I thought it was a fun thing to go to Center Shot. And, these guys at Center Shot, it's a great place. I tell you what, that's where I got my CPL at, was Center Shot. And I've taken other firearms courses. I can say hands down this one, not that I've taken a ton of them, but enough to know an excellently put together program. I thought it was the best firearms class I have ever taken. And that's the truth. Chris, I don't remember his last name now, but Chris was a guy that was running the class, and he was talking physics and all kinds of nerd topics that, of course, I like. But he was not only just talking about, well, like a lot of teachers, this is what we do to pay attention to blah, blah, blah. He was actually saying, well, this is why you do this, and he had an explanation of exactly why this was done. Not just this is what you need to do. I had the same thing with my ham radio class. You go into ham radio class and you just kind of memorize the test questions, because there really was no class there whatsoever. You had to kind of know things before you got in there, but not a lot of direction. They actually filled in the blanks of why things were done that way. So you had a little bit more history. You had ballistics training. You had all kinds of things that was more helpful. So there was, for me, it was kind of like, oh, well, that's kind of cool. That's why we do it that way. I didn't really understand that. So it's a good organization. It's a good company. So very excited to go to Center Shot and meet. And there's a lot of people, I think, that are going to be coming this weekend. I've had a lot of response, even from the east side of the state, which surprised me how many people from the east side of the state are coming. So yeah. I expect we're going to have a good turnout there, and it'll be a lot of fun. And one more clarification. So I've been kind of watching the people that are responding to this, and I'm going to say it because I have to speak the truth, even if it makes people mad. But there are some people that are coming there, and I want everybody to know that just because you're coming to a Constitution Party meeting, don't automatically assume that everybody there is part of us. You know what I mean? That are constitutionalists. I know right now, I can tell you right now that I know one person who is connected to other people that is not someone I would trust with I don't know,
a sandwich.
Yeah, a sandwich, because I know too much of the backstory there. And it's a little disturbing, because this person has connections with a person that told me I had to put 20 grand up in order to get on the ballot with the Republican Party. And so you have to be in any group you go into, you have to be aware of that. And if we see any nonsense, I'll tell you right now, Bill and myself will be the first ones to be like, you're out of here. And so we're not going to put up with this infiltration by deep state actors. If they want to sit there like the little snaky people they are, that's fine. But they step out of line and they start this nonsense that happens in the Republican Party. They won't be welcome there anymore. We're not going to put up with it. So just kind of a word to make sure, always put your thinking cap on. Don't ever think that you're going to be in a situation that is at this point in time not infiltrated. And that's a biblical principle. Satan walks around looking for an opportunity to destroy and or to lead people astray. We do the best we can to help each other out, but realize that there's never a 100% situation in this life. Not until Jesus comes back will we see that. So until that point in time, we have to be a little bit watchful. And something that was really impacting me the last few days is how much the battle that we're in, we look at this and think this is a political battle. It is not. It is absolutely not a political battle. This is a spiritual battle. And that battle is being waged in a person to person, individual to individual basis, and from the inside out. And that's what we're seeing. You can see people, Karen and I were talking about before you guys got online. You can see people that lose their marbles right in front of you that perhaps have been friends and this person, but all of a sudden something will get to them and you can watch them, boom, they'll change that quick. I have a very trusted friend that I watch literally in front of my eyes, sit there and say, I don't sin, I never sin, blah, blah, blah. And I sat there and I was like, the response was so off the wall that it was kind of shocking. And every single person has fallen short of the glory of God, and it's by God's grace alone. It's not by ours. And I'm going to say this to everybody out there: if you're not pointing full time to God and to Jesus Christ, giving Him the glory as far as what's being done, the battle is God's. He is allowing us to have a part in this and to learn and such. But all the glory of this has to be to God Almighty. And that's it. That's the only way we're going to win, is if we put God first, because we will be co-opted on the way. Organizations will be co-opted and infiltrated. So eyes on God full time, guys. What say you, Bill?
Yeah. Yeah, you got that right. As our calling, as Christians, it's we're not here on a pleasure ship. We're not here on a cruise ship. What we are is we're adopted into the family. We're adopted into the army, and our entire lives is a battleship here. As it said, men to your stations. That's where we're at. And I was thinking about this morning. There's a lot of people that I talk to. They say, "Well, what do we do? What can we do?" I'm telling you, you look around, and there you will have an option to do something. If you look around,
there's no end to what we can do to serve God here.
Yeah, you see all the issues around us. When we're called to reprove the works of darkness, that is it. What we have is a nation that is continually surrounding its people with darkness, and there's battles to be won all over the place. And each person has their own little niche, what they're capable of doing. I just talked about that with Darlene and Paul Urban. Each person has their own little niche that we can do. One person is not going to take it all on, and I don't expect even a group of people to take everything on. Each person is responsible for their own actions. And if you don't know what to do, look around, see what you're inclined to, how your mind processes things. I'm very analytical. I don't mind paperwork, right? And I can read and put things together with enough time. But there are so many battlefronts. Just pick one. Pick one, and then learn everything you can about it and go after it. You're not going to be expected to fight all of them. Speak out against all of them when you can. But to actually do something, just start with one, right? And every person, if they would take on one battle, you'll find other people doing the same thing. Bind with them for a righteous cause, and continue on, continue forward. The more you get into it, the more you're going to learn, and that's a positive and a negative, because the more you learn, the more you're going to be responsible for doing something. But
And the more you know that you need to learn some more, it's like the more you learn, the more you know what you don't know. And then you keep increasing and go, wow, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. And you keep increasing that circle of knowledge and such. But it's, and it's almost like horse training, because I do some horse training and such and rescue. And people are so much like horses. It's like they see something scary and they run around, and I can guarantee you, unlike a mule who will stop and is stable and doesn't get moved around, people will run around right to their own demise, and they start running around crazy like, okay? The first thing you have to do is you stop dead in your tracks just for a minute and take a pause. If there's an emotional reaction to something, you're in trouble right there. They've got you if there's an emotional reaction. So stop dead in your tracks. Start praying and ask God, what do you want me to do? And the answer may be stop and just take a pause until you can get control of yourself. You get bearing on your surrounding. You're not being blown around like the friggin' wind, but that you're actually thinking again. And then you can actually make an assessment, and God will lead you into those areas peacefully, thinking, so that if a problem comes up, you don't lose it and you don't do something really stupid. You have to do it in a very calm manner. Now, I'm not saying not be out there for the fight, because everybody out there, if you know me enough, you know that I'm on that little white pony with the swords flying most of the time, right? Because I don't like bad guys. But it's not so much an emotional reaction as you should have that fire in you, but you should be thinking while you're doing it. And then you're super productive and you will hit the mark. Let's just say you're an archer. If you're thinking and you're moving and you're moving fast and there's conviction on that target you're trying to hit, you're going to hit it dead on every time if you're thinking and you're letting God show you the barriers, the obstacles in the way, so that you're not just continually, getting hung up on things. And that state of mind is first. So when we look at the spiritual battle starts right here, and right here. If you don't have that in order, you're never going to get anywhere in life. Not only in the kingdom of God, we should be fighting for the kingdom of God here on earth as it is in heaven every single day. That comes down to a personal choice in what we do every minute of our life. Are we going to be dragged into this fight like a bunch of orcs grabbing a hold of us and throwing us in the middle of a fight, by the demons? Or are we going to stand there and refuse to give them any ground where they can take ground with us ourselves, And you study a little bit of 5th generation warfare. That's what it's all about. It's about the mind of the people, because we are the biggest weapon, but we're also the solution to what's going on.
That's right. And on that note, I mean, who are the first ones in Revelation not to inherit the kingdom? You bring up the kingdom, and we should be promoting them here. But the first people who are not going to inherit the kingdom of God are the fearful or the cowardice. Right? If we have a spirit of fear, then you better look into yourself and figure out where you stand. Because as Christians, we are not given a spirit of fear, but of power and of a sound mind. Right? We don't have to pre-think what to say in most circumstances. All we need is the knowledge. The Spirit says that He'll give us the words to say in the hour that we need it. Don't go looking for it, days beforehand and try to pick up something specific to say and make a big long case for it. We're given what we need when we need it. But if we're fearful to take this on, then you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. It's as simple as that.
Well, and look at the deflection that's happened within the church. The church is the first one to be sifted in Revelations, right? The church is the first one to be sifted, and they're going to be weighed and found wanting in a big way right now, because it's like everybody wants to point to the government to fix our problems. No, the government needs to be less of the government, and we need to take on some of these social issues to help people, not to necessarily condemn, but to speak truth, but be there to help. You know, if we keep relying on things like let's just say, I'm going to throw it out there, and I know this is going to bother people. Right to life. Right to life was the biggest opponent to the heartbeat bill, and how many kids have died because of this? I'm sorry, but it's wrong. And you know, we have, it's got to be in ourselves, in our local area. If you want to talk about something like that, plan on taking an unwed mom, or a mom who's got an unwanted pregnancy, or a baby. Plan on taking them into your home, because you are going to have to step up and help, and not just, you know, not just yada. Just like with the political stuff, we can sit here and yada yada, but if you're not willing to do the work, get out of the way, because you're just dead wood for the rest of us to have to drag along. And am I right or am I wrong, Bill?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Well,
I can just hear the people now, Donna. Somebody watching this show out there is thinking, "Oh, but you're crossing lines. You can't have the church and the state. There's a separation. There's a erected wall between church and state." Right? I've heard it before, and I know probably everybody's heard that phrase before. Let me just say it. There's none. There is no wall between church and state. The only thing that is separated is that the state has no business in the church. If you read Thomas Jefferson's letter to the Danbury Baptists, that is the only time you'll find that phrase, and the Supreme Court has twisted it to the point where the people actually believe it since the 1940s, I think it was. There is no such wall. All right. Every government in the world is a theocracy, right? And that is it's led by its worldview. However it views the world, that becomes the method of governance. That is a theocracy to its core. So if you think that we have to separate politics from faith, then you're not going to accomplish anything. We might be able to swipe a few things off by the pen. We might be able to make some good changes by the pen doing it that way. But guess what? As soon as the establishment puts up another one of their criminal administrations in place, they're going to take that same pen and they're going to rewrite what you just undid. There is no change without having God and our faith as the backbone of society. John Adams said that our Constitution was made for a was made for a moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate to the government of any other. And that's where we're at today.
Yeah, but look at what I'm saying too is that the constraint of the government, because right now all of these organizations, these 501c3s and all this sort of thing, the churches that shut down, that are lockstep because of the funding from the government, they become like government schools, government church, government blah, 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 blah. And you look at the things like Catholic services, Lutheran services, Bethany Christian services. I'm pretty extra sure that there's going to come a time where people are going to actually recognize that this is human trafficking. And these people have come forward under the guise of saying, well, we're Christian. This is, and then we're going to find out, are they? I'm not real sure, because of the money that they're taking, the people's lives they're implicating, and it's all for the almighty dollar. It isn't to help people, not with the dollars that you've got involved in these organizations. And they come in the name of the Lord. That's what they say they're doing. I'm not sure it's the same ones that we worship. Just saying it. I'm gonna throw that out there because I think that we've got a big problem with a lot of people that are pretending to be what they aren't. And it's disturbing. So, you cut the funding, you get the funding out of the way, and you're going to find out, you're going to see the difference between the men and the boys right then and there. You're going to see that dividing line when you take the money away from this, the government being constrained, and then the true church of Christ stepping forward and not sitting in the sidelines, but actually saying, you know what, it's going to be us that's going to step forward and in the humanitarian effort to take care of this nation.
Yep.
So there you go. Please.
So yesterday we talked a little bit about party politics and about the GOP making a decision on the national level for all of Michigan and the delegates and so on with regards to Christina Caramo being chair or not. And the principle that we pulled out of that was that government should be by the foundations and the people up, not from the national level down, dictating what the rest of the people should have to deal with. I was absolutely delighted to see Trump's response to the Republican Party, considering, I forget the term they used, they were thinking about just declaring Trump as the candidate. And Trump very politely said, "Thank you so much for your support. It feels so good to know that you all love me so much. But no, it needs to go through the system. The people need to be the ones to decide." And he's talking about the party, but he's really talking about that larger principle. The people need to be in control of all the decisions, not the party, not the elevated government, somebody above you telling you what you're going to have to deal with in life. And I thought it was a very good example for Trump, that is the perspective we should all have. And I think everyone should see that in all of our elected people, that they understand the principles of a representative republic. And also his another one would be his response to what's happening at the border. And if you want to go there too, I would suggest that maybe Bill can talk about the Constitution and how it applies there. I'm going to yield for now.
So yeah, on the border, what a mess we have down there. And it's not just, we're not just talking about a border wall here, which has yet to be built. It's not just the federal government that's being the problem, but we also have state governments in line. A lot of people, let's bring up Greg Abbott for one of them, right? Governor of Texas. He was caught taking illegal immigrants that entered his state and shipping them to other states, right? They're being given plane tickets to fly to the destination of their choice. They're being given money. It's the states within that are actually incentivizing or alluring illegal criminals to come across this border. It's not just the federal government at this point. A lot of people like to pin the tail on the donkey on that one. But the states have just as much right to their security to lock their borders down in case of a threat. And as we see it right now, I don't know of any state governments that are actually deporting anybody.
Right.
I know Greg Abbott, they got this whole thing on the media now where they're putting up a fence down there trying to keep them out, and the media is saying that Biden is and the Supreme Court's trying to force them to take it back down. And I haven't been there to see it, so I can't vouch for that. But if that's true and Abbott's actually putting up a fence, then I'll praise him for it. You're actually doing something here. The Supreme Court has no authority to tell them to take that down. It is the security of that state to keep any threats out. And it's not just the governor's job. It's not just the legislature down there, but it is the people's job to put a stop to that. Right? The people, go back to that. The people are the militia. They're tasked with enforcing the law, repelling invasion, and suppressing insurrection. That is what they are supposed to be doing down there. And I have seen that done a handful of times. And I believe there are groups of people down there that are doing everything they can to put a stop to it. So give credit where credit's due, right?
Well, the concern that I have with there's a convoy supposedly going down there, and they've got 3 different locations. And I don't know if you've seen this one, Bill, but let me see if I can bring it up here. I'm trying to get people to go down there, and I got to tell you, there's things that you can do, but do you do them? Are they? There's a lot of things you can do in life, but should you do them? I don't know. You know, the states that are sending the National Guard down there is a wonderful way to approach this, because when you get a whole bunch of people that are all mad going down there, do they have the right to go down there? They do. But we've got 25 states that are sending National Guard down there right now. I'm not sure that encouraging people as one-offs is a great idea at this point in time. Though we can do it, we have the right to do it. We had the right to assemble on January 6th too. This could be one really big setup, and I don't have the answer to this, but I'm not going to be going down there. And I think that this is one of those things that we need to hold our elected officials, accountable to this. And honestly, Michigan should be sending in my opinion, the National Guard down there to help with this situation. We're supposed to help defend each other. We can do that on an individual basis, but under the conditions we have right now, this could be another J6 just to hopefully start somebody doing something stupid. And we, it's like our side wouldn't do something stupid, but we sure know that the Fedsurrection that's happened here in these United States is a real possibility. And once they start something like this, I'm not sure the shooting's going to stop. So that's my thought on it. I don't know what yours is, but I think our better option would be send the National Guard down there and see if we can handle this in a better manner. What's your thought?
It makes me think of Kyle Rittenhouse. He's a fine example. He's a young man, doesn't matter how old he is, but he had the ability to defend somebody, including himself. And so he took up that position. I'm going to go out and make sure that if I have anything to do with it, I'm going to protect somebody in need, because I could see what's going on here and it's not pretty. But he ended up putting himself in a terrible position, and he ended up going to court and people died, and terrible situation. He's not a professional. And I'm not saying that, people should not train on their own and get involved where need be. That you have to be a professional, like you have to be a doctor or else to practice medicine. But there's a time and a place to defend yourself, your loved ones, your community. And this is not one of them. And if the other states are sending their own form of militia, the National Guard there, they're trained. They're trained as a unit. They're trained under certain circumstances. They're going to be able to handle things that you as an individual cannot, or even if you're a small militia group. I saw a movie I mentioned the other day, a bunch of movies about Secret Service and the president being under assault. Well, there's one of them where a guy is a Secret Service agent, is pinned as being the guy trying to assassinate the president. And he's running from everybody. And a couple of militia guys catch him at a gas station. And as soon as he gets a hold of one of them, the other one immediately drops his gun. It's like, these guys they're all ready to go. I'm going to take charge of this situation. And suddenly they don't have the courage. They don't have the skill. And that's what kind of, if you've seen that, then you know what I mean. It flushes up that idea that not everybody is meant to serve in every circumstance. Don't go looking for trouble, because you're going to find it. And I think Donna is right that there's going to be setups down there. There's going to be a false flag narrative if the people don't think first. I yield.
And it would be a pretty simple solution as well. If the states would just properly deport illegal immigrants out of their state, we wouldn't have to go down to the border necessarily. The border states should be able to take control of that themselves. The issue with the National Guard, it's always a touchy topic, because the National Guard, part of it belongs to the state and part of it belongs to the federal government, depending on which title you're under. And the National Guard is not a apparent right of the Constitution's. The National Guard is actually created under statutory law. That's something that the legislators put in place as to, I suppose, kind of deal with the militia clause. They took the power away from the people and established it into a militant force, or a standing army, if you will. And then once the federal government got a hold of that, now they've been subsidized that way, and the federal government now is in control of a standing army, paid for by the state and trained by the state. And a couple of issues is that if the states are sending their own National Guard down there, there's a potential that unless they've contracted with another state, which is in violation of the Constitution as well, but if they send their National Guard down into another state, there's a possibility for conflict between the states there. And if they're sending National Guard that are subsidized by the federal government, I think it's under Title 10 or something. I don't know. My sister would know that. She's in there. But if they're sending National Guard that are subsidized to the federal government, the federal government's got control of that, not the states. The moment they leave the border, the state can't do a thing about it. And if we think that the federal government is going to send National Guard down there to actually accomplish the purpose that they're going for, we got another thing coming, because they haven't done that, and I don't see that they ever will.
So yeah, it's a mess. It truly is a mess down there, and I don't know. I got some big concerns, I guess, from all. And you know what? I've got a friend, one of my research friends. His name is Paul Floret, and he's been writing about the Black Swan event. And you're starting to hear more about the potential for civil war in this nation. For what purpose? One purpose alone: to make sure that President Trump does not get in and have the rightful president of the United States with all the cheating. I mean, that's the goal there. And I think we can see that there's so much going on to try to subvert the process of being American. They've taken over every single process. And now we're fighting our way back out of this, but so be it. Here, I want to show you something else. That this is talk about another distraction from
hoax to making horrible, but
Queen Gretchen and her merry men. This is what we were talking about earlier about the potato. Here you go. I'm going to show you the rightful Tater Tuesday, right? Now check out what Gretchen has done. This is so crazy.
Potato jokes. Our video of the day comes to us from Michigan's Gretchen Whitmer, who announced news about higher education with the help of a talking potato. Roll it.
Hey, Governor Whitmer, how's it going?
Hi, Professor Potato. I wanted to share some Yukon Gold news with you, my best bud.
What is it?
We both agree that every Michigander deserves an opportunity to go to college without frying their bank account.
Absolutely. A higher education helps you learn more skills, pursue your passions, and even plant your roots right here in Michigan.
I think we found out where Brian Stelter's been. Now, got a tan. He won't be.
Michiganders, huh?
All right. Now, you might be thinking, am I high on mushrooms? But no, this is a real video released by a sitting governor. So what's going on? Whitmer is acting more baked than that potato. But I guess if you want to tell taxpayers that they're footing the bill for even more useless crap, you might as well use a potato. Seriously, if a potato inspires you to go to college, maybe you should just start practicing the question, do you want fries with that? More, please.
But for too many, college is financially out of reach. That's why I'm so excited to announce an appealing plan.
Oh, I know what you're planning. This year, we will work together to make the first 2 years of community college tuition-free for every high school graduate.
That's right, Professor. Michiganders will save an average of $4,000 as they earn their associate's degree.
Hey, that isn't small potatoes. That's a big deal.
To learn more, make sure you tune in for my State of the State address.
I'll be there for sure. Later, Tater.
Later, Tater.
I still think I'm high. And I thought I was really bad at politics. Nice job, Michigan. You elected a woman who talks to side dishes. You don't see Tudor Dixon chatting with a dish of coleslaw, but that's Democrats for you, a governor who talks to starches and a president who's a vegetable.
That's what I was going to say. A lot of people have been referring to Biden as a potato. So to me, I think that tells me she's not in charge. I think the joke's on her.
Well, we know she wasn't elected here in Michigan, right? We can all agree on that. And the fact that that's another conservative outlet, I call them conservative crack there at Fox News. They will always use that term that the people elected her. Nobody in Michigan elected her, all right? There may have been some useful idiots that voted for her, but nobody actually elected her. She was placed there. Okay?
Fake news Fox. That's what they are. Fake news Fox.
That's right.
And go right back though, but look at where they went right back to is the two-party system is what they went right back to. Honestly, then they bring up Tudor Dixon, who was the lousiest candidate that they could have run. She was it was the Democrats in the open party that put Tudor Dixon in because she was the weakest candidate that was running. And you look at the connections. What did they do? They voted in someone whose dad and whose family was part of this private public partnership nonsense, selling, information. They were information brokers and globalists. That's who they put in. And then what happened? DeVos pulls the funding right at the end because they all wanted Whitmer. They wanted that control back in and that person who was going to play ball with the World Economic Forum. That's the whole thing was Tudor conceded before the vote was even counted. And so, to look at that, anybody looking at that and doesn't take that into account, all the idiots out there that were like, split the vote. There was no splitting the vote. They're lockstep together with the Democrats. The only one that split the vote was like no one out there because they were working together.
Yeah, that's right.
That, it's a shame. And then look what DeVos did. DeVos is pulled out of J6 or right after J6, which was all about keeping President Trump out. And it's not even about President Trump as much, though he's the rightful president of the United States. It's taking the voice away from we, the people. And the parties are involved in this. So, they wanted to tank that in J6 because they had the electoral votes for President Trump to get in. That was proven. And what happens? Betsy DeVos steps down, resigns January 7 and gives $22 million to Pence. This whole thing is about subverting the will of we the people and keeping it in the hands of the globalists, of which all of them are.
And I'm going to say, too, that if you're planning on giving away public funding for the first 2 years of college, then it means that your high school system has failed.
Sucks.
Yeah, and you can go farther with that too. I mean, that's what was just stated there is just absolute socialism, right? It's taking from another and giving it to somebody who doesn't want to work for it. But for those who think that that's okay, that the government can give away free stuff, I'm here to tell you, number one, the government has no money. They're only borrowing ours that we give them to use for specific purposes, which they're also not. But there's nothing free that comes from the government. All those people who are taking part in these free things, whether it be welfare or Social Security, education funding, you name it, the list goes on and on and on. Healthcare, what you're doing is you are taking money out of your children's pockets. That's all what it boils down to. You are cowardice. You don't want to do it for yourself. All you're doing is ripping off your kids and grandchildren and forcing them to pay the price for it.
Yep.
Agreed. And I love how she threw that in there. Michiganders are going to save $4,000. Wait which ones are going to save $4 million?
Not me.
Even the people that take that money are so dumb that they don't really realize that they're getting that money for a short-term gain, and they're going to nail those people throughout their entire life with a 70% tax rate unless they work for the government. Unless we continue to grow the government, every single person that takes a dime of that money is going to be on the hook for that money over their life. They just do it in a different way. They shift the funding. But because we've got government schools that never teach anybody anything on how true economics work, they don't even realize that they are literally taking money in order to subvert them the rest of their life. And as you said, to your point, Bill, their children and their grandchildren. And it's this is one of those things where we have to check ourselves and say, what are we doing? What are we doing? Are we robbing the coffers? And go back to Social Security. Social Security was a great idea, kind of, sort of, not really, but it kind of had some, it had some altruistic points to it. You put it into an account, and then you can basically take it out as you get older as a supplement for your retirement age, right? It's not even remotely looking like what it was supposed to. Now people decide to retire and it's supposed to pay all the bills. That was never intended that way. And then they throw it all into the public or the general fund, which it's gone. It's all gone. There is nothing there, people. When you think, if you think that there's going to be anything in Social Security in 10 years, I'm so sorry to tell you this, but I don't think there's going to be a dime in 5 years there. There's not. They're having to borrow it from other, because they keep spending and spending in Ukraine and Israel and the Middle East and Venezuela and all of these countries that they're money laundering into. It's gone. You're going to have a better plan because they stole every cent you put in there.
Well, and even the way that Social Security was originally set up was a pyramid scheme.
I remember being in college, and I remember a specific professor that was talking about it. And yes, I was dumb enough to go to college for way too long, but I did learn how it's like running on the Republican ticket. I was dumb enough to do something like that because I thought that was the way to win. And then you get out of it and say, well, now I can actually see how this works from the inside out. And this is what's wrong with the system, right? And the entirety of this money laundering is crazy. So I had this professor there that said, realize that right now, because this was in the early 80s, we have a very small, we've got a 1 to 50 ratio of what one person's paying taxes or paying into Social Security. We've got 50 people that are funding one person that's taken out of Social Security. I had it backwards there for a minute. When you are older, and he guaranteed us this, and he was right. He said it's going to be a one person working to 2 people on public assistance, because he said that's the trend. And that's where we're at right now. Only we're feeling it. We're not feeling it as bad as we should be, because they're just printing money now. So to try to deflect or take away the pain of what we're actually paying. But all of us are working until October to pay the taxes for these morons. And we're keeping about mid-October to December for ourselves. And they're printing money, which is a kind of a tax in a way, which is taking away the value of the dollar of whatever we have left. And whose fault is it? It's ours, because we keep voting this uniparty, this complicit uniparty back in. And, I've gotten attacked for, jumping all over Christina Caramo and saying she needed to be removed. She did. But that doesn't mean that the only option is to vote in somebody who was absolutely involved with the Patriot Act and then having that Patriot Act reauthorized. It wasn't a one-off. It wasn't a one-off at all. There's a pattern there. Now, I think Pete Hoekstra is a real nice guy. I've met him. Super nice guy. But that wasn't the only option out there. And to attack me and say, no, look what you did, Brandenburg. We got rid of Caramo, and this is what we're stuck with. They're only stuck with it because there was less than 100 people that are determining the direction of the party who actually voted someone in. So don't attack me for this. Don't even think about it. Don't attack me for the fact that you didn't deal with the problem when you had it with Cromwell, and now you're not dealing with the problem going forward. And I've been watching the information that's coming out. I will give Pete Hoekstra a chance to prove himself. Everybody has a chance to prove themselves and to right the wrongs that they've done.
Hey, you gave Christina a pretty good chance.
I gave her a real good chance,
Yes,
and I'll do
you
the same
did.
thing with Pete Hoekstra. But the point being is that if this person was involved with Bush's and involved with the Patriot Act and had the Patriot Act re-upped, they re-upped it later on in time, he's going to need to go back and say this whole thing was wrong. We did the wrong thing, and work to remove it. You don't just keep going forward and bowling through the brick wall. You have to you've got to fix what you broke. And you can't just go forward. That's why I'm such a proponent of we have to fix the 2020 and the 2022 stolen, rigged, cheated, fraudulent elections. Because neither one of them were right. And we can't back down on that, because if we do, it's going to be the same old. And that's what my concern is. I would love to see Pete Hoekstra go in there and do some great things. I would love to see that. But the only thing I'm looking for right now is, are you going to right the wrongs that you were a part of? If not, it's just another go along to get along. So we'll see. I personally, I liked Lena Epstein's resume and thought that she had a pretty good shot at it. Actually met with her and I talked with her. Nice person, and very nice person. I think she has the intention to do the right thing too. So, and that's up to us to come along with him and educate him. So if everybody wants to throw this all on Pete Hoekstra's back for the Republican Party, shame on you. You get in there and you talk to him and tell him what you want done and help instruct him, not just sit back and go, I'm going to see if he's going to fail or not. I'm going to support him as far as a choice. And hopefully he'll do the right thing. I plan on talking to him and see where he's at, because the list of things in the background there are a little concerning. But I'll give him a chance.
Party politics are nothing but a smaller version of our government. I'm not sure that people realize that, but a party politics is just a small representative government starting from the ground of the people. Right, the grassroots, as we like to call them, and if we can't get in there and take part in what we want to criticize, what we want to demonize in most cases, if we're not even willing to get in there at that level and take a part, yet we think that we can get in at the state or even the federal level in a bigger scheme that has been controlled for so many decades now, we think that we can get in there and make a difference. I mean, let's see some action first, right? Let's see people who want to get involved locally before we start talking about putting somebody in place that can get involved statewide or federally. Right? I want to see what you're doing in your backyard before I want to see what you're doing across the state or across the nation. That's where it's going to make the point, right?
Yep. I was just gonna say, they for people who blame Donna, like grassroots. It was the grassroots delegates that got Karamo in. Well, where were the grassroots to protect her from the vote to remove her? If you still felt the same way, how many people were there in that meeting on January 6th? Were the delegates there? Did they do their part to say whatever they wanted to say, for or against her, or to ask an inquiry? And you're nail on the head, Bill. You're hitting my point. That is a small version of government is the party. And these people want to say, well, we need to do this and we need to do that. I made a meme for that once with a little cat and a big lion. We need to do this, and I'm going to sit on my couch and watch everybody else while I complain about we. Well, we the people starts with us on the bottom doing all of our duty. That means you don't get to sit on your couch. That means when you have to ask of your government, you get over there and you do it, or you don't and you let your government do whatever they want to do. So where we are now is because we stayed on a couch. We let that indoctrination camp, school, public school, college teach us that we are the audience of the government instead of the instructions and the directioneers. We are supposed to be directing them and instructing them and criticizing them or praising them alternately. And if we don't do our job, this is what happens. And so for the Republican delegates to complain about what happened with Christina, if you didn't do your part in the party, where are you? Do you think that the only thing you're supposed to do every year is vote in an election and that'll change things somehow? That's not how this representative republic that you want to uphold now doesn't work without your activity level and your awareness and your decision making. You can't just sit on your couch and blame somebody else and say, well, we need to do something.
Well, and I think that going back to the Republican Party, it's all about, there's so much of this stuff out there that's all about money. And, it's like from top to bottom, it's all about money. And I mean, I've gone pretty much everywhere. I've talked to just about everybody that's in politics out there, that I can, whoever I get in front of, I try to talk to, whether I agree with them or not. Like I met Robert Kennedy. I've met some really interesting people down in Mar-a-Lago and at Turning Point, and all of these different events that I've gone to. All of it, my contact list is just beastly. It really is. But there's very few people that are in this, that are in the public eye, that are for real. I'm just going to say it. It's a lot of it is about the money. The ones that really matter are the ones that are right now, in my opinion, that I'm more interested in, the ones that are working behind the scenes, that are not in for the glory, that they're not trying so hard. They're just working behind the scenes every day. The true patriots, and they don't get called out. They don't get recognition. They don't get anything. But those are there's some cool people out there. I met the guy that wrote the continuity of government plan, and that's really the continuity of government plan is really cool. And what you do in an emergency, these people that are actually working behind the scenes. I love Harry Howry. He was on the show, and the people like Ivan Raiklin and Tom Speciale, and that work in intelligence, and Troy Smocks, and people that have put out there, pro se cases and such. There's a lot of them. And they're winning. They're absolutely winning. The nonsense that we see on camera, I halfway don't even believe half of what I'm seeing out there. If you really want to know the truth, I think there's so much CGI out there. It's unbelievable, but there are good people working behind the scenes. But okay, so I'm going to say something about this thing with Kari Lake that came out with DeWitt that basically bribed her to step down from a Senate race there in Arizona. Not a peep out of the Republican National Committee, not a peep out of the national. He did step down, but are you kidding me? There's not a statement that went out from them on something that's this egregious violation. But the other thing is it looks like this happened like 11 months ago. So why is it all of a sudden coming out now? We have to ask those questions, because there's so many people are playing games out there. What's the timing involved in this? Why now? I don't have the answer for this. I can tell you, I met Kari Lake. It seems like a nice enough person in my very, very short period of time of meeting her, but she's got somebody around her that's pushing her around at the event. And it was kind of crazy to see. And I'm like, what am I even seeing here? And most of the stuff that I see President Trump involved in, I don't think he's out there in the public. I think they got him tucked away somewhere, keeping him safe. Guy's 6'4". You see somebody that looks like him that's about 6 feet tall, you better start asking some questions, because I'm not sure that we have the answer for all of this. But what I do know is that there's a lot of fakes out there. There's a lot of people out there on the local level that they pretend to be patriots, and they are not at all. And we've all seen it. And so no matter where you go, if it's to a party, which I believe in, we either have to have a whole bunch of parties out there with no money involved in this, or we need to abolish them. And I'm kind of the opinion that we need to abolish the political party system, because it's all, even though the taxpayers fund, we don't have any money at all. The Constitution Party, it's like we do it by raw effort and getting people together. It's just it's an effort thing, right?
It's a beautiful thing to see, really.
It is a beautiful thing to see, because nobody's going to be making money off of it. And the one person that I know that's coming to the meeting who only is in it for making money, because I've watched this in action over the last few years, there's no money here. There's not going to we don't even want the money in, because the minute we start taking those big donations, we're done. And I can tell you right there that probably Bill and I will be off, and Ralph and Karen and whoever's standing there, we'll figure out another way to do it. If this thing gets compromised, we're going to be the first ones that are going to say, all right, guys, this is what's happening, because all of us work for free. And that's the reality, is every single person here has not taken a dime. You know, I took very small donations, I want to clarify, for my run, but I funded 98% of it. And I thank every single person that decided to put money towards this to be helpful, because the state, the nation is so friggin' lazy, it's not even funny, of true patriots. The apathy is unbelievable. Bill, you said something when I was running that was really kind of telling, and I didn't even know this is a thing, because I'm not a political person. You said you kept watching me because you didn't trust me at the beginning, and I appreciate that. I don't want it. I really love that about you, that first of all, that you had the guts to say it, but second of all, that you were actually thinking. And I don't remember exactly how you put it, but you were watching, and I didn't give any money to the party. And I'm like, is that a thing? Are you supposed to do that? I didn't even know you were supposed to donate to these parties as a candidate. It should be the other way around.
Yep. That's always. I don't know how many other people do that, but I have a very small. I can count my brothers on one hand. I can count all of my brothers who I consider brothers. I can probably count all of my friends on two hands, and everybody else is an acquaintance. I don't trust acquaintances. They have their use. We work together in certain aspects, right? But those I trust are very small. And yep. I know that the people on my right hand, at any point I could call them and they would be there. No questions asked, because they know I'm not going to give them some huff and fluff about wanting you there for my purposes.
Yeah, how much money are you going to pay them to show up? That's what the question is everybody wants to be paid to show up for fight for this country.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and that goes both ways. If we want to have friends, we have to show ourselves friendly, right? We have to be willing to do that which we expect other people to do. I'm standing here on a job site, not standing. I'm actually sitting in my truck. But I'm at a job site right now, and I've got one guy working in the house. Another guy's got a broken vehicle right now. But I would never ask my guys to do something that either I'm not willing to do or that I haven't done already and can show them how to do it. And that's the same way it needs to happen. Whether we're talking party politics, whether we're talking work functions, whether we're talking friends and family. Don't go asking people to do things that you haven't put yourself in place to do already, right? Because otherwise we're just being hypocrites at that point. Like, I want you to go do this because it's going to be easier on me. No. Let me show you how to do this. And when you're capable, go ahead and I'll go do something else. That's the way we should be thinking about others in this case. We should show them our deeds to prove our worth to them, to prove our faithfulness, our friendliness to them, so that in turn we'll be able to trust them to do the same things for us.
Respect is earned, and trust should be earned. No one should just come on the scene and say, I've got all these great ideas, you need to trust me. That is an earned position, and that goes for everyone. You should be putting people a little bit, just stand, just because you like them, you like the way they talk to you, you like the way they make you feel. It becomes all about fee wings instead of, are you talking to somebody who is going to stand and stand to the end? You listen about the snowflakes. So I don't like President Trump, the rightful president of the United States. I'm going to say right now, I don't like President Trump's mean tweets. Okay, did he get the job done? He did a pretty good job, and he set us up for tax reform that, if you look at what he really did, you don't have to like him. But what he did is he got into a situation with the swamp where who's he going to trust around him? There wasn't anyone there, or very few people, So he had to work with people that were compromised, that were imperfect, in order to try to make it through, just like running for political office. It's like playing a game of Frogger, waiting for the next car to come in and smash you on the road, because that's what the politics is like. And, but he did some things. If you look at what he didn't do them always for the immediate gain. He's got a long-term plan going on here, guys. And one of the things was the tariffing, in order to be able to be set up for a constitutional tax reform. And that's a biggie. That is actually returning the government back to the people instead of making the people slaves. And it was huge. Or the container traffic that stopped out in the Pacific. Everybody's panicking. Oh no, whatever will we do? We're not going to get our goods and services delivered from the communist country that's trying to take us down. Isn't that too bad? Well, maybe we should stop spending money with these people. And the other thing is that it was going through an international port where only 2% of the containers were being inspected. Ergo, we can say, what were they shipping in here? Probably fentanyl, human beings, whatever. I don't know, body parts. Who knows what these people are capable of besides the goods and services. And we've got General Flynn's brother, who's in charge of the entire Pacific Command. Things were not what we saw, what we were seeing. And he was breaking China. They only get paid on the delivery of the goods, right? So those containers are sitting out there, la-di-da, out in the Pacific, while we're breaking China because nobody's getting paid for this. They were already in deep doo-doo there. What Malaysia did to them, put their whole housing economy and their whole economy on notice, and really kind of trashed them.
That really was kind of a beautiful thing.
It was beautiful what Malaysia did, and then President Trump follows up with the pretty much the kill shot on them to a certain degree, which was have the containers. We're going to have these barges and containers floating around for how many months because of COVID? Now, there was a lot more going on. There was a lot of things that could never have been accomplished had some bad things happened. And that was one of them. You take out the greater threat, and that's what he did. And then he set us up in order to succeed. But people want to sit there and go, oh no, whatever will I do? The mean tweets, the this, that, and the other thing. It's like, you got to study to show yourself approved. That's not just the Bible, but look at what's really going on. It's much deeper than the surface headlines that everybody wants to. And even when people throw the Constitution out there, that's great. Do you know it? Well, we're all learning it more and more every day. But that can also be misleading by people if you don't go deeper into some of the actions that are going on behind that. It is the supreme law of the land, and we need to stick with the Constitution, right? We're at war right now, and there's many layers to the onion to get back to exactly what we need, because we were infiltrated, we're at war, we were taken over, and fighting our way back out. And part of it is the apathy with the people that are out there. Get in the game, people.
Yep.
So,
a question for Bill. A while
What's that?
ago, you mentioned that when the National Guard leaves the boundaries of the state, the federal government has control. Did I get that right?
The federal government has claimed control. Yes.
Okay, so tell me what you think that could mean if those National Guard leave the state and they head down to Texas. What could the result of that authority be? Because I'm just not well versed on that. I think most Americans are not. What are the possibilities that we should be thinking about and questioning and looking for?
Well, I don't know all of the realms of possibilities, but like I said, the National Guard has no place constitutionally. They are just a statutory militia that has been set up to subvert the people's power. But if you can imagine that the National Guard is actually set up as the state's rightful militant force, right? According to statutes. So when a state sends its National Guard to another state, right? Each state is their own sovereign government. Okay. Mm-hmm. So when we send in our National Guard to another state to do something, possibly without, and I don't know if they were requested or not. That's a whole nother aspect of it. I don't know that. But to send a militant force to another state would be the same principle as the U.S. sending our troops to Iraq or Iran to go steal their oil. Mm-hmm. Okay, it's the same principle, and you may end up with good out of that, but if the state government, namely Texas in this case, decides, well, we don't want you here, get out of here, and the federal government says, no, we're going to stay here and do this for you. At any point, the state of Texas can rise up with their militia or their National Guard, depending on how their statutes are written, and say, get out or we're going to get you out. Now, all of a sudden, you've got a conflict, not only the state of Texas against the federal standing armies, but you may have conflict between the state of Texas and the individual states that sent their National Guard down there.
Civil war.
Well, and as I understand it too, the state militias, once they, the only constitutionally allowable reason why they would be allowed to go outside of the border of their original state is if mustered into an army by presidential power, correct? So yes, once they leave the state, they're no longer actually part of the militia, or they are under presidential power directly.
Right. The president can call up state militias to accomplish those three duties, in which case they answer to the commander-in-chief, of which we really have none. So they answer to the big government entity that claims its authority right now. And that's why I was saying, if we think that the federal government's going to call up the militia or call up the National Guard and send it down to Texas to accomplish that which they refuse to do on their own, it's a huge red flag. I mean, it's a huge false flag, because they're acting as two different entities now. Number one, they don't want to fix the problem, and number two, they're going to send National Guard to go fix the problem. So there's a conflict there, and every time there's a conflict regarding the same people doing two different things, now you have an issue, and you have to, like Donna was saying, you have to process something else is going on here behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. This is all done for a different reason other than what they're saying it's being done for. And that's the only thing I can think of.
Yep. And if the militia has not been properly mustered by the authority of the commander-in-chief, then it's basically just, constitutionally, it's basically an invading force.
Yeah,
you have it right there.
I wasn't trying to tell you to be quiet, but I was like, look over here, not over here. So, what you can finish what you were going to say. And then I want to show you this Black Swan event analysis by a friend of mine.
Yeah. That was really all I had on that issue, unless Karen's got something else. I don't know what's going to happen with it.
Yeah, it's making me think a little bit more and asking more questions, because you could have states going down there where the individual what do you call them, soldiers in National Guard. So they're going down there thinking, I'm going to protect the border. And if things don't go right, let's say, and Texas does say, hey, this is not going the way we want it to go. And I would think, because I know in other avenues of emergency, when a state enters another state for emergency purposes, there's a contract. So I would assume there would be some form of contract. And I would be really curious if there is or isn't and what that would mean. But
Unless
Texas could say, Texas could say, okay, this isn't going the way we want. You guys need to get out. The federal government says, no, you have to stay. And now there's a soldier standing in the middle of it trying to discern what is the right thing to do. Well, I'm here to protect our border. But Texas, if they trust the sovereignty of Texas as a nation equals state, they're going to say, okay, we need to go home. But there may be some division within those divisions on that matter. And then in the middle of it, you have the public. You have the Kyle Rittenhouse. You've got somebody from Michigan saying, I'm going to go down there because I know the importance of protecting the border, and I'm afraid of China coming over the northern boundary, because that's the rumor, and I'm afraid of the immigrants coming out of Chicago and attacking us at any moment. So I'm going to go down there and help protect the border too. And you've got all these people from all over the country thinking that they're being part of a convoy and a rally down there when all of this is happening. People aren't going to be looking for election fraud. They're not going to be talking about the parties. They're not going to be talking about whether Biden's on the primary, whether he's competent or not. They're going to be looking down south.
Well, and look at this, Karen. Not only that, you just hit to your point. This is a great point to bring up right now. Is all of a sudden everybody here that actually cares goes down there to the border to defend it. We're all border states right now. Mm-hmm. We are. Every single one of us has become a border state, and it's like that's already. They've already trashed those areas down there. And trying to move everybody. Look at Abbott sending everybody to the different states. Okay, we got a problem. And so guess what? You're already invaded no matter what state you're in.
Yeah.
You want an easy solution to that. If the federal government doesn't want to secure the borders, like what Congress is supposed to be doing, and the individual states don't want to secure their borders with other nations, then it is up to the individual states. It's up to the individual states to take control of their own state boundaries. And what I mean by that is, if the government in Texas or Arizona or California or North Dakota, Washington, if they want to send known illegal immigrants or even unknown, doesn't matter, across into the state of Michigan, it is our job, and we should have our state fixed to the point where we take those same people that were just shipped in here, whether bus, on foot, or by plane, and we put them back on the same mode of transportation that they just stepped off from and send them right back to where they came from.
Yep, you're absolutely right.
Let's just, I want to throw some random numbers out here because I know they're low, but let's say we take 20,000 people that just walked in, and they put them on several planes, flights, and send them into Detroit, Lansing, Grand Rapids, Saginaw, Michigan, right? Well, the local governments at that point should know that, because we should have a security in place to where they should be identified the moment they step off, and they should put them right back on and send all 20,000 right back to where they came from. And that would solve the problem. Yeah.
And then hand them a bill for shipping them to our state to get them back to the state of origin. And that state should ship them back through the country that let them in, which is they're not walking in on two legs. They're either coming through Mexico, they're coming through Canada. I know some are coming by boat and such, but they're coming from somewhere. And we send them back, and we hand them a bill for the transportation costs of sending their sorry butts home.
Yeah, and speaking about boat, I mean, that's the same thing DeSantis was doing too. And the conservative movement was praising DeSantis for sending illegal immigrants to supposedly democratic cities, right? And there's nothing legal about that. DeSantis should have been sending them right back. But if all of them would have sent those people back to DeSantis, you think he would have just let it happen? And they would have flooded Florida back with all the immigrants that they shipped across the country? No, DeSantis would have put a stop to it. The people would have rose up and said, you got to quit this nonsense. Get them out of here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. So I want to go through something. Here's a friend of mine, Paul Flora. He's one of my buddies that we're on a Friday night call quite often, and a lot of cool people. But I wanted to go through this because we're talking about a Black Swan event. Been talking about it for a long time. Whether you like Q or not, I don't care. I listen to everything, but I think that this is significant, and I want everybody to know that you can go to the absolute1776.substack.com, and you're going to find Paul there writing. Okay, beyond the veil. I'm sorry. And what he says, going through a Black Swan event and going over this. Did you see the tweets that baby Soros sent out this past week? I know you did, Karen.
I have not. No.
All right. So baby Soros sent out a tweet that was basically kind of a threat, and everybody's saying, "Oh no, he's going to assassinate the President Trump."
Yeah.
It's like, no. I think Paul did a really good job with this, and I wanted to go through this. If you guys don't mind going through this a little bit step by step, I would love to have everybody jump on. He's on Substack, he's on Telegram and such, and Twitter, I believe, too. So talking about conspiracy theories and how they've stopped us from looking into things.
Well, and if I could, before we switch topics here, if I could add one more thing to the whole immigration debate, too, is that if anybody wants to say that being against illegal immigration is racist, then you haven't talked to a whole lot of the legal immigrants in this country.
Yep.
They are by far some of the most anti-illegal immigration people that I've ever talked to. And that's coming from, name a country. Go talk to the legal immigrants from that country and see what they think about the illegal immigration problem. So if you think this is a racist thing, being against illegal immigration, you may want to look around at the diversity of opinions that you're actually getting.
Yep. So I listened to a really good video by a Middle Eastern guy that was talking about Sharia law here. He said, "Why are you coming here if Sharia law is so good?" And there's only two answers. There's really only two answers that make any sense to that. But the strongest one is because they're here to take over the nation. And I saw another video of a guy in Germany who was waving his passport around from the Middle East going, "We own you now." And it's invasion through that kind of nonsense. I completely believe that we need to say, this is great, but you're going to earn. You can come in here, you can take the test, whatever you want, but you may not vote in our elections for 2-3 generations minimally, so that they don't just prance across the border, get their citizenship, and all of a sudden have full rights, because that is a real easy way to get an invading army in here to take us down politically. And it's what they've done. Look at all the people that are sitting in the seats who have dual citizenship with Israel. That is a bunch of nonsense that needs to be stopped. And they shouldn't be able to come in here and all of a sudden just take the test. You can be an American with no constraints on that. I don't think they should be able to vote right away, because like all these anchor babies and such, I'm sorry, we need to deport these people, never give them a chance to come. Maybe we say we're going to deport you, and you do not have a chance to come back here for 15, 20 years or whatever to even legally come back in. And if they come in illegally, they should have no ability to ever vote in our elections ever. The rest of their life, they're done. because they first of all, they broke our law. They have no respect for our law whatsoever. So you're done. You come across illegally, you never get to vote in an election in the United States of America, because you have lost that right. And anybody that comes in here legally, that's great. But let's make sure that they aren't just prancing in here to subvert us through the elections, and give them a little bit of time. We should be making them prove themselves. They shouldn't be able to vote right away. So anyhow, I'm going to go to Paul, because this is significant, because Paul is writing about a black swan event being what's happening at the border. And I think he's kind of right on this. I think he's got this figured out. So somewhere along the line, a lot of us forgot that it's okay to be wrong, and forgot it's okay to discuss theory or a thought is just that, a theory or a thought. With that said, theory or thought being mutually exclusive to proclaiming that theory would turn out to be true, sometimes laying a theory out there is exactly what is needed to prove its falsehood. So he's just saying, let's talk this out a little bit and see what we got going on here. So he's going to go over some theories. Or thoughts. Fly for fear of being labeled a date fag. Okay, so he's going to put this out there and saying, let's go ahead and look at this. And even if somebody calls him, a date fag, which we all, if we've been in the Anon community or on 4chan, 8chan, this is just a term, guys. It means it's your thing. Okay. And so it's not a homosexual reference there. In the language spoken by Anons, that is just meaning, hey, it's my thing. I used to get called a Bible fag all the time. Okay. That means that my thing is the Bible. I like looking at the Bible, and amongst other things, but it's just a term. Okay. So all of you out there who are gay and lesbian, and I've got a lot of gay and lesbian friends, it has nothing to do with being gay and lesbian in this context. So anyhow, Soros puts this out here. Crime and inflation crises largely evaporated. So did the leading theories about what has caused them. Puts a bullet through a glass, and all of a sudden he's got this post with dollars, and we're going to start adding up some numbers here. So this is what happens with people that follow Q as far as looking for truth and patterns. Okay. So there are a few interesting things I take away from this tweet. First off, I want to go ahead and get it out of the way. No, I do not believe he just put a hit on President Trump. Oh, this was absolutely comms. Don't get me wrong. I just don't believe that was the comm. And why? First of all, it'd be too obvious. Aside from that, all it would accomplish was to make a martyr out of I always use President Trump's title, so I'm going to do that here, even though Paul didn't. Martyr of President Trump, something which they absolutely do not want. If they had the power to physically take President Trump out, they would have by now, period. Exactly. So what exactly was he saying? Let us start by breaking down the images in the post itself. First, we see a bullet hole in the glass. This is self-explanatory, and I do believe he is calling for a hit, but we will get back around to that. The second picture, we see 47 in assorted bills with the bills facing in various ways. First thing to catch my eye is that the bills facing upward equals 17, which is double interesting considering the post was made at 7:55, which also equals 17. My first detour has now arrived, as I want to spend a second on the instance of 17 appearing here. Man, I've been seeing 17 all over the place, by the way. Is it a coincidence? Do we actually control what Soros is tweeting? I don't know. What I find interesting is that Q did tell us twice, in fact, that the playbook is known. Here is one of those instances. Drop 4722, September 16, 2020. It all adds up. Virus, riots, fires, why? Make no mistake, they will not concede the election night. On election night, no mistake, they will contest this legally in battleground states. Make no mistake, they will project double into the election results. Make no mistake, they will organize massive riots and attempt anarchy. 99 design, playbook known.
Doubt, I think.
Oh, doubt. I'm sorry, doubt. Thanks for correcting me. I woke up this morning with a little bit of a headache, so I'm still on like half brain power right now. But anyhow, make no mistake, they will organize massive riots and attempt anarchy. 99 design. This drop also discusses how they will deny election results and will not concede, except this didn't happen in 2020. Is that because this is a no if this is a drop meant for this year, I don't know. I truly don't. Only time will tell. I love how Paul writes. He's open and he is discussing it. Interesting enough, exactly 12 hours later at 7:55, also equaling 17, General Flynn replied to Alex Soros. What the hell is the message you're sending by posting a bullet hole next to $47? And the article is filled with total bullshit. So there you go. General Flynn, the people's general. I love that guy. Here you can see that Flynn replied exactly 12 hours later while pointing out the 47. To me, this signals that there are comms here which need to be dissected. We're being pointed to look and research for ourselves. Here you can see that General Flynn replied exactly 12 hours later. Sorry, read that already. Also of note is that both post timestamps contain a 55 or 55, which if you've been following along, you should know means loud and clear. Okay, you see a 55 or 55, it means loud and clear. Flynn's response could very well be playbook known and we see you. A shot across the bow to let them know we see all and hear all. Speaking of shots, Soros made his tweet on January 21st. Have a look-see at this pretty dastardly January 21 Delta. Shot heard around the world, the Great Awakening, a week to remember. Which brings me to the point of remember what Dan Scavino posted? It's all tied in, guys. There's no coincidences. Well, then, that's pretty interesting. Coincidence, no? At this point, I believe it's pretty clear that there is more to this post from Soros than would meet the naked eye. Moving on, we'll also see that one of those notes is, in fact, a silver certificate. Have a look. There you go. It's a silver certificate in it. That's kind of odd, isn't it? Why would he have a silver certificate in there?
That's interesting.
47. Why is this important? Because silver certificates were JFK's plan to take power away from the Federal Reserve and return it back to the Treasury and thus the people. And what happened in March of 2020? This is arguably the most important EO 11110, and many speculate this EO and his attempt to take power back from the Fed is what got him killed. Does that part about returning the power back to the Treasury sound familiar? It should, because that's what President Trump did in 2020. I remember that. That was glorious. Banker and providing financing. The Fed hired BlackRock to purchase remember that, these securities and handle the administration of the SPVs on behalf of the owner, the Treasury. In other words, the federal government is nationalizing large swaths of the financial markets. The Fed is providing the money to do it. BlackRock will be doing the trades. Interesting, isn't it? This scheme essentially merges the Fed and the Treasury into one organization. So meet your new Fed chairman, Donald J. Trump. And I don't know if you guys were watching this, but I was at the time that was happening. It was real interesting to see the old system become bankrupt. Happened, saw it in real time. So read the full Trump Treasury article here. So you can go there to Paul's Substack and then check it out some more. So even more in-depth analysis on why Trump did this, I recommend Substack by Dwayne Cates. Brian Cates, another friend of mine, his brother. So it should be pretty clear by now that President Trump is absolutely an existential threat to their power structure and already dealt them a massive blow in 2020. This is why we have seen the fiat system continue to crumble away brick by brick without the usual methods to prop it up. The bubble will burst, and when it does, their system of control is gone. This ties into the Black Swan event. Don't worry, he's going to get there. Just stick with him a little bit, because Paul's got a great in-depth and puts it all together. I mentioned above how much of a threat President Trump is to them. Don't believe me? Have a look at Alex Soros coming just short of crying while discussing President Trump winning the election. Let's just listen to this a minute.
I don't think that's the fundamental. I don't think technology is the fundamental issue in democracy. Democracy is messy. Democracy is about contestation of ideas. It's about plurality. It's about people having different truths. Actually,
we use so many big words, Alex.
Fundamentally, how society lives together.
Different truths.
In those contestations.
Contestations.
Is obviously quite tricky. But I think that if we play too much on this disinformation card, we're taking responsibility away from us.
Okay, he's got a lot of big words in there.
Yeah, he is quite well spoken, isn't he?
Yeah, not so much. He's scared out of his mind. Taking note of his body language. Yeah, he's scared out of his mind and not doing well. Soros is clearly rattled at the idea of President Trump being back in office. Good. Run, little Soros, run back. He wasn't the only one visibly fearful, not just the notion of President Trump being back in office, but how much the movement in support of him has grown. Another example, we see this gremlin whose name I do not know screeching about toxic Twitter has become. Yeah, well, Twitter's finally been freed up with Elon Musk. But wait, there's more. Here we see another esteemed World Economic Forum member reeing her brains out because they have lost the grip on gatekeeping and control information. Yeah, I'm not going to waste my time on that. But it's a good thing. I'm just not going to do it here. At last, but not least, let's take a look at Jamie Dimon, who is a complete about-face, admitting that not only would President Trump be the best choice for the president of the United States, but that he was also right about, well, pretty much everything.
How do you see the U.S. economy playing itself out over the next 12 months? This is an election year. We've talked a lot about what just took place in Iowa and trying to understand how the American public is going to feel about the economy may ultimately dictate how the president is decided.
Yes, I agree with that. I think it's a mistake to assume that everything's hunky-dory. And, and when stock markets are up, it's kind of like this little drug we all feel. Like, it's just great, But remember, we've had so much fiscal monetary stimulation. So I'm a little more on the cautious side that we are facing a lot of things in 24 or 25. And we mentioned Ukraine, the terror activity in Israel, the Red Sea, quantitative tightening, which I still question if we understand exactly how that works.
We don't understand it because they're just making words up. But at any rate, President Trump did the right thing. We're going to move on. Doesn't seem like these swamp creatures have the usual swagger and confidence, does it? They all seem a bit worried. Why? Well, maybe this. Let's see what our guy has to say.
I think in light of all of the things going on, and you know what I mean by that, the fake news, the Comeys of the world, all of the bad things that went on, it's called the swamp. And you know what happened? And you know what I did? A big favor. I caught the swamp. I caught them all. Let's see what happens. Nobody else could have done that but me. I caught all of this corruption that was going on, and nobody else could have done it. On top of that, we have the best economy, greatest economy we've ever had, the best job numbers we've ever had, African American, Asian American, Hispanic, the best ever. So I think.
All right, so I've got an issue with Asian American, Spanish American. This is bull crap. We're all either Americans or we're not. I want to see him say that President Trump was right about everything. Let's go for it.
How QE actually worked, what the effect of negative, zero rates was for all this time, and obviously the politics, and and then the Ukrainian war is affecting oil, gas, food, migration. So you have all these very powerful forces that are going to be affecting us in 24 and 25. So if I was the government, I would be preparing for what I'm going to do about that, assuming things aren't good. And I just also want to point out, I wish the Democrats would think a little more carefully when they talk about MAGA. And if you travel this country, and the country's unbelievable. We took our bus trip this year, and Leslie Picker was on Spokane and Boise and Bozeman, and people are growing. They're hungry to grow. They're innovating. It's everywhere. It's not just Silicon Valley. So we've got this great hand. But when people say MAGA, they're actually looking at people voting for Trump, and they think they're voting, and they're basically scapegoating them, that you are like him. But I don't think they're voting for Trump because of his family values. If you look, just take a step back, be honest. He was kind of right about NATO, kind of right about immigration. He grew the economy quite well.
China virus.
Tax reform worked. Yeah. He was right about some of China. I don't like what he did.
No, I said China virus.
Yeah, I understand. He made right. And I don't like how he said things about Mexico. I don't like, but he wasn't wrong about some of these critical issues, and that's why they're voting for him. And I think people should be a little more respectful of our fellow citizens. And when you guys have people up here, you should always ask the why. Not like it's a binary thing. You're supporting Trump, you're not supporting Trump. Why are you supporting
Trump? Hard to hate 75 million of your fellow Americans.
I agree.
It's done privately.
And, the Democrats have done a pretty good job with the deplorables, hugging onto their Bibles and their beer and their guns. I mean, really, like, could we just stop that stuff and actually grow up and treat other people with respect and listen to them a little bit? And I do think the economy will affect. I think this negative talk about MAGA is going to hurt Biden's election campaign.
Oh, so he kind of like throws it right out there. He's pretty much right about just about everything. And I think so too. We literally just heard him say that he was right about everything. And friends, that's what is driving their current level of panic. He caught them all and they know it. They know he is not bluffing. And now they know when he returns, the retribution will be swift. There's our buddy, General Flynn, standing right there next to him. I'm going to pivot back to Soros' tweet again. Obviously, the number 47 was mentioned or shown. Our next president will be the 47th, but as I said, I do not believe physically assassinating President Trump is the game plan. That said, I do believe that this tweet by Soros does have to do with the 47th president, rather the election of said president. Be vigilant today and expect a major false flag. Does anyone find it a coincidence that there's always a terrorist attack when bad news breaks for the D's? What is that called? Military relevant how? And so these are the original Q posts, which there's a lot of information you can get from those as far as what questions to ask and where to look. They're not giving you answers. They're giving you something to look at. This drop was made on November 2, 2017. Biggest takeaways for me are be vigilant today and expect a major false flag. I know it's a bit screechy. Apologize. Not my intent to instill fear. However, we've been told numerous times by President Trump, General Flynn, and many others that our border situation has made an attack all but certain. And here is President Trump from his latest rally saying literally the same thing.
Hey, Donna.
Yeah.
I've got to head out here. I got to get into the job and start working. So.
Okay, good enough. Thanks for jumping on today, Bill. And we will see you tomorrow. And everyone else that's out there as Center Shot Indoor at 2:00 in the afternoon with the U.S. Taxpayers Party, which is the Constitution Party. And we're all for real people. We just stand, it's like there's no hot shots there. We're just normal people that just want to live our normal life under the Constitution and for God, family, and country. That's it.
That's right. That's right. Well, let's get back to the way we used to do things, guys. Let's hold the standards up. Let's hold the law up. Let's prosecute those committing the crimes, because only by justice can we guard our liberties. That's written right above the Supreme Court. Let's get back to that, and then we'll be able to see some real change.
Perfect. I'll give you a call later on today, and we'll be talking about the tomorrow event yet later on today. But have a great day, Bill, and thanks for coming on, okay?
All right. We'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye. Okay, let's go back to this again. So President Trump, what's he saying?
But in 2019, our year, we had no terrorists coming into the country. As soon as Biden took over, we have record number of terrorists. So all those people you see come in the invasion, and it is an invasion, and many of them happen to be all male from 18 to 25 years old, perfect age for a soldier. 27,000 from China. Think of that. Are they building an army within our country?
There you go, an army within our country. So if you want to listen to the rest of it, go to absolute1776.substack.com and give, and take your time on that one, because Paul has written a lot. It's long. So further analyzing this drop, we see Q ask if there's a coincidence that a terror attack hits anytime there is, or is it about to be bad news against them? Well, I'd say President Trump getting back into office is about as bad a news as it gets for them. So they would go to any lengths to keep that from happening. Let's see if I can skim through this. So what is a black swan event? A black swan event, a phrase commonly used in the world of finance, is an extremely negative event or occurrence that is impossibly difficult to predict. In other words, black swan events are the events that are unexpected and unknowable. The term was popularized by former Wall Street trader Nassim Nicholas Taleb. There's a name for you. I wonder if he's connected to Rashida here in Michigan, who wrote about the concept as his 2001 book, Fooled by Randomness. Before I carry on with this thought, let's take a look at how quickly black swan events have entered the narrative. While searching to put this article together, I found rare mentions of black swan events within the narrative, found very rare mentions, so not very often. until October, November of 2023. And then all of a sudden it was all over the place. Yeah, I picked that up too. So look at all these people talking about it now. Those who follow Q in the Q drops will recognize these next two as both heavily featured in the drops, and both are all but confirmed by Q as patriots. Flynn even goes so far as to suggest we may not even have an election, which is what I've been telling everybody. I've heard him say this, I can't tell you how many times, which plays right into Soros's calling for a hit on the election. Well as Trump signaling about a false flag and the above Q drops as well, which I still have yet to get to.
He doesn't know how that's going to happen. Wasn't speculating about exactly how something like that is going to happen, meaning, that the 2024 election doesn't occur. But that's pretty much what he said, was that he can see a scenario, as I can, a scenario that we don't have an election in 2024, that some other, and they call them black swans, some other black swan type event occurs, or maybe there's a couple of black swan type.
I'd like you guys to continue to talk just a second. I've got an attorney calling me on the phone, so just carry on, please.
Well, Flynn has been talking about the same thing Donna and I have been talking about, that something's going to happen to prevent that election from taking place. On the surface, you can easily say this is because the deep state cannot stand Trump getting into office. I would suggest that is because he represents the will of we the people, that it's not about Trump, it's about us. But it could be much bigger than that. And I don't know what it is. So,
well, and I would say too, if they think they can pull something to stop the election from happening, if we were able to hold an election during a world war and we can't now due to some smaller event, then we're a whole bunch of cowards.
Yeah. So they have to, and that's the thing, like we're looking at this potential civil war brewing down on our border. Meanwhile, Congress is talking about sending more money over to Ukraine. Or, we have to deal with this shipping problem. We have to deal with the Haitians, the Houthis. That's what I was thinking. The Houthis. Or we got a problem between Taiwan and China. We gotta go over there and address that. No, we gotta mind our own business.
Yeah, I have a hard time envisioning how in the world you can justify what's going on, our involvement in what's going on in Yemen. It's like that the only thing that we're fighting for there, basically, is these globalist corporations. And I think you're going to see the same kind of thing if you look at the situation with Venezuela and Guyana right now. The pieces are moving in a direction to put us in the same position there of fighting a war for somebody else to try and save money for large corporations. It's absurd.
It could be interesting if our national troops, and I've suspected for a while that what we're told is happening isn't actually happening anyway. Like, is there money actually going to Ukraine? I don't know. I haven't seen proof of it, so I don't even really know if we've been sending military and monies over there.
Okay.
But what if our national military, let's say our generals, suddenly disagree with what they've been tasked to do? Just like the discussion we had regarding the soldiers down at the border. If our National Guard, what if they grow as their courage and their moral and ethical standards and say, no, we're not going to do what we've been told to do because that's not right.
All right, so I'm back. Sorry, there's actually some motion in the court system. This is a good thing. So let's I'll fill you in probably next week, but But kind of interesting because I've got a couple court cases going, which you'll never hear on fake stream media. So, but you got to come here to Brandenburg News Network to hear what actually is happening, which is a good thing. So it seems pretty clear that General Flynn and Heritage both want people to take notice of a very real possibility of a black swan event. Okay. And take note of Heritage's scarf, which is the same color used to denote Q on maritime flags. Interesting. This is the perfect storm. EU leader warns of, oh, come on, of black swan. So we've got event or black swans everywhere. It says propaganda is our battlefield. Yep, duh. So, but all good. Zero Hedge also got in on the black swan chit chat. Quite a few Anons noticed that BLM and Antifa were relatively quiet when Roe v. Wade fell, and it's been relatively quiet at President Trump being allowed to stay on the ballots, and they haven't really raised much fuss over any questionable activity. Why? Is it because they were told to hold back for a certain period of time? Now, what I believe to be true is that we had infiltrated those organizations and know who the good guys and the bad guys are. We know thousands of single fighting age men are pouring across the border, non-accompanied by families. When men leave war, they take their family. When men go to war, they leave their families behind. Frankly put, our country is being invaded and infiltrated by millions of people. The door has literally been slammed open, and the terrorists have all but been told to fire at will. Okay, we're going to go down here. See, go to a Substack, you'll get the rest of it. Well, if this happens on November 2, it brings reasonable argument, the most popular and theorized Q drop in existence, into play. Let's see what he said here. What if these drops are near our 7-year deltas change? That would mean that November 2, 2017 drop warning of a major false flag and riots would be in play. It would mean that when Q spoke of them rejecting the results of said election, that they knew they wouldn't win and preemptively tried to stop what is coming. If that happens on November 2, that then brings arguably the most popular and theorized Q drop into existence. Think about it logically. The only way is the military fully controlled, save and spread once 11.3 verifies as first marker. I don't know if that's a date or if that's a section in the war manual. I've heard it out there both ways. But Paul's got a good point. Drop 26, we all know it. We're familiar with it. And we have all theorized about it. What if the black swan level false flag happens on the 2nd, thus leading to proof beginning on 11/3? Don't know. Those are all questions. Who controls the National Guard? Why was the National Guard recently activated in select cities within the U.S.? Can the National Guard work in coordination with the Marines? Do conditions need to be satisfied to authorize? What former president used the military to serve the Republic? And what occurred exactly? Biggest drop to ever be provided on poll. Study and prepare. The masses tend to panic in such situations. No war, no civil unrest, clean and swift. You'll notice the drop falls right within the same timeline as the other. So what mechanism could be at play to quell such an insurrection so quickly? I'm quite certain devolution plays a role, 100%. And I'm 100% certain President Trump did not leave office knowing the election would be stolen while doing nothing about it. I do believe that also. There you go. We have another Q drop. Department of Justice. Treason, misprision of treason, rebellion or insurrection, sedition, conspiracy, advocating overthrow of the government, registration of certain organizations, activities affecting armed forces generally, activities affecting armed forces during war, recruiting for service against the United States, enlistment to serve against the United States, and that's U.S. House. uscode.house.gov, there's the link. A couple months later, in the beginning of the summer of love, Q flattens out and mentions the Insurrection Act of 1807. Insurrection Act of 1807 determining that the various state and local authorities are not up to the task of responding to the growing unrest. Call the ball. And there's the Insurrection Act. And now I want to throw in there too. Remember what Governor Abbott did? I posted his letter a couple of days ago, and it's basically he's invoking, he's talking about exactly how to deal with in a true insurrection or invoking the Insurrection Act. Before invoking the powers under Act 10 U.S.C. 2, Section 254 requires the president to first publish a proclamation ordering the insurgents to disperse as part of the Posse Comitatus Act of 1878. These provisions have since been amended. To address an insurrection, any state which makes it impracticable to enforce the law, or to address an insurrection, domestic violence, unlawful combination or conspiracy in any state which results in the deprivation of constitutionally secured rights, and where the state is unable, fails, or refuses to protect said rights. The Insurrection Act exists to give the president an option to use our own military to police our own citizens in an event of an insurrection. As we saw in various cities in 2020, many local governments were both unable or unwilling to stop the violence taking place in their cities. Fits the bill of requirements to declare the Insurrection Act. But did President Trump declare it? We need to locate some evidence. And he's thanking his friend Sharon Armanis for the following. What's that?
Looks like
Shannon. Yeah, Shannon Armanis for the following graphic. Just put it all together real nice. In the upper left-hand corner, we see the drop I shared from above, May 30, 2020. This is the drop when Q mentions the Insurrection Act. At the end of the drop says, call the ball. If you are unfamiliar with this phrase, it's a naval phrase which refers to the pilot signifying whether or not he is lining up for a landing on the aircraft carrier. It can also mean being put in charge, or the ball is in your court, make the call. We are putting everyone on warning. Our 7 o'clock curfew will be strictly enforced. Those who threaten innocent life and property will be arrested, detained, and prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. It's awful close on fulfilling the requirement or asking for insurrectionists to disperse. So we've got lots and lots of other stuff in here. But I wanted to show you guys how important this is, what's happening down there with the National Guard. And I would encourage all of you to go to Paul's Substack, absolute1776.substack.com, and read and take your time to go over this, because I think it's going to start making some sense. And with everybody saying, oh, Brandenburg's a Q-tard, Brandenburg's this, Brandenburg, you know what? I listen to friggin' everything, okay? And I don't get shut down by people telling me, that I'm stupid or I'm dumb to look at this, because I've heard it all. Anybody who doesn't look at everything, that's the person who I'm concerned about, because they're driven by fear, or they're taken out of the game by other people's opinions. You should not fear man. You should do what you think is right and make your own decisions. No single person from J6 has been charged with insurrection, yet that's a soundbite that the media and the Democrats are trying to revive this week. No mention of due processes being denied and insane sentences, because that wouldn't be convenient for the regime. So we've got so much going on here. I'm not going to go through all of this because it's long already, but kudos to Paul. And here's one of the other famous drops that we've all seen, with Antifa being the same thing as the Communist Party in Germany in 1933. It's all the same. Complete blackout by fake news media. Ask yourself why. Are they afraid the U.S. patriots engaging in the same tactics? The liberal left told old guard engaged and formed organizations such as Antifa to combat and silence fascism, any such deviation of the controlled narrative. Do these actions of those patriots abroad destroy the fake news narrative? Read the majority agree with the politics of the liberal left. We will not go silent into the night. We will not go without a fight. Do you believe this movement and worldwide events are simply a coincidence? Divided you are weak, together you are strong. We the people have the power. Executive order active, where we go one, we go all. Calls out Antifa. And here we've got a watch with time again. Will POTUS be at CD tomorrow, 1 year Delta. Matters of national security. The clock is ticking. Follow the watch. See what? Follow the pen and follow the watch, right? We've got all sorts of things. We've got Red Castle involved. U.S. Army Corps of Engineers is Green Castle. So please jump on here and read through it. I don't want to go through and take everybody's time up on this, but I think that until recently we see signs that President Trump is telling us what happened and what will happen. And let's listen to the rightful president of the United States.
I wasn't campaigning. The election was over. I was doing my duty as president to expose and further investigate a rigged and stolen election. It was my obligation to do so. I had no choice. And the proof found voluminous and irrefutable evidence that the election of 2020 presidential election was rigged. Therefore, among other reasons, of course, I am entitled to immunity. Additionally, I did absolutely nothing wrong. I was acting as the president of the United States. This wasn't for me. This was for the country. Stop the witch hunt now. They ought to stop this crazy witch hunt now. We ought to get back to working and making America great again. Thank you very much.
There you go. So, yeah, a lot to read here, guys. If I'm struggling to read this a little bit, it's just that my brain's going ahead of the text. So my brain works faster than my mouth does. And then after a while, I need to let my mouth catch up to my brain or slow my brain down. So less than 2 weeks ago, President Trump told us, I did my duty as it pertains to the 2020 election. And that right there is the proof you need that he didn't sit back and do nothing as some influencers would have you believe. In addition, the video clip that Trump posted was 55 seconds. There is that 5-5 again. We're while talking about rigged elections and doing his duty. But it must be a coincidence, right? How many people actually believe this is a coincidence? It couldn't be a coincidence. Did my duty as commander-in-chief to expose corruption in a rigged election. Even more recently, we have President Trump speaking in the present tense when referring to carrying out his duty. Okay, that's just a graphic.
Everybody agrees that if I'm not entitled to presidential immunity, which I should be, doing the affairs of state, doing the affairs of the President of the United States and doing it well, we wouldn't have any of these problems if I were president. But if I'm not entitled to immunity as president, every other president would get that, then crooked Joe Biden would not be entitled to immunity. And when he left office, he would be, I assume, prosecuted for the horrible job he did in Afghanistan, killing soldiers, leaving Americans behind, leaving billions of dollars worth of military, brand new, beautiful military equipment that I bought in the hands of the Taliban, and basically surrendering. And there was no reason. We have to deal through strength. But all of the horrible things that he's done, allowing the attack on Israel, which would have never happened, the attack on Ukraine, which would have never happened, the possible attack on Taiwan, which possibly will happen, losing our energy independence. But maybe most of all, for purposes of immunity and going after Joe Biden, is allowing millions and millions of people to pour into our border, coming from jails and prisons, coming from mental institutions and insane asylums, and terrorists coming by the thousands. If I don't have immunity, then no other president would have immunity, and Joe Biden certainly wouldn't have had immunity.
So we've got reason to prosecute Joe Biden. Kind of threw himself out there as bait. Joe Biden randomly choosing to screech about the prospect of President Trump declaring the Insurrection Act.
It's coming from a president who called, when he visited the cemetery, called dead soldiers suckers.
and losers. Remember that? Sometimes I'm really happy. The Irish in me can't be seen. It was right around the time I was at Bo's grave, Tommy. How dare he? Who in God's name do you think he is? With former aides, Trump plans to invoke the Insurrection Act, which will allow him to deploy, he's not allowed to do an ordinary circumstance, allow him to deploy U.S. military forces on the streets of America. He said it. He calls those who oppose him vermin. He talks about the blood of America as being poisoned, echoing the same exact language used in Nazi Germany. Proudly post on social media the words that best describe his 2024 campaign, quote, revenge, quote, power, quote, dictatorship. There's no confusion about who Trump is, what he intends to do.
Thanks to his friend, the storm has arrived for the clip. No, it's crazier. He said this in Valley Forge. Yeah. The one general Washington and his troops departed from on the mission to cross the Delaware. When did it take place? Christmas Eve. Now, do you want to guess when Catherine Herridge went on CBS to talk about her fears of black swan? Yep. Christmas Eve. It's my opinion it was declared. Biden knows it, and he knows they're in trouble. What is the same exact language and posturing we saw from all of them at Davos this week? And that brings me back around to the very beginning of this article in the Soros tweet. I believe he is calling for a hit on the election through way of a black swan event that would cancel the election. And it is my take that this event is an uprising in America caused by infiltrators and those who have been flooding again across the border. It is also my take that the white hats are ready, and if this is in fact the plan, that it will be put down quickly. What else catches my eye? And this was brought to my attention by Angel Aura, and that the election this year is on November 5th.
I don't see any instruments.
Your powers of observation continue to serve you well. But wait, it is to Madame Justice that I dedicate this concerto in honor of the holiday she seems to have taken from these parts, and in recognition of the impostor that stands in her stead. Tell me, do you know what day it is?
November the 4th.
Not anymore. Remember the 5th of November.
I love this movie.
Gunpowder, treason, and plot. I know of no reason why the gunpowder treason should ever be forgotten.
And what happens after that is a lot of fun. Watch the movie. Treason being the operative word in that video. The movie is synonymous with this movement. And wouldn't you know it, a virus was the catalyst to usher in worldwide totalitarianism in this story too. And it all came to the head on what? November 5th.
Well, and I think too, something about that Karen and I were talking about a little bit ago when you had your phone call is if we were able to have an election during a world war, then if we can't have an election due to something smaller than that, then we are all cowards.
True enough.
From the very first day that we take back the White House from crooked Joe Biden and his band of radical left lunatics, I believe we are going to have 4 of the greatest years of the history of our country. We had the greatest economy in history. Think of all the things we did. Rebuilt the military, biggest tax cuts ever, biggest regulation cuts ever. The next Trump economic boom will begin on November 5th, 2024. That's what's going to happen.
That's what's going to happen, guys.
So here's the thing about all this. Like, you see these things you call comms. If we know, or at least we can guess at what happens, and we've been told this by various means, plus deductive reasoning, critical thinking, what have you, then, and we're also told that the white hats know this, and they're prepared. Shouldn't that give us a lot of comfort?
Oh, yeah.
And add that to the comfort you get with your faith. Be strong and of good courage. What have you got to be fearful of? It dictates then how you respond to things. You don't respond emotionally. You don't respond with a panic. You don't get super angry or super sad or super anything, because you have a sense of comfort and faith already grounding you. And you can also laugh. Like, we were watching this video of Biden, and I was thinking, I wonder if you saw the video that came out yesterday of Biden, blah, 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 Great Lakes. And they all cheered for him like he's a trained SEAL, and he just did a trick because he had 2 words that we could actually discern. You can't even tell what he's saying. And you can find joy in those kind of moments when you know you really got nothing to worry about. Does that mean that you can sit on the couch? No. It means that you've got to do your part still. But it is a comforting kind of thing, as far as I'm concerned.
Go forward with boldness and confidence. So 2420, did they get the shot? It pointed directly at 3 times. It turned and double pointed, just to be clear. Did they pick up the boom, boom, boom? Something is happening. Yes, Mr. President, Anons are actively tracking. Message received. Good. That's good. Keep going here. U.S. military equals savior of mankind. We will never forget Fantasyland. God save us all. And then there's a prayer to St. Michael the Archangel. Amen, brother. MSM, CIA counterops will all fall down. What happened in Saudi Arabia will happen here. God bless. Remember what happened in Saudi Arabia? They all met at the Ritz-Carlton. Last guy was, they were given their ability to leave with their lives, but nothing else. All of their goods, everything that they had unlawfully grabbed was taken back. And they hung the last guy upside down until he acquiesced. It was either acquiesce or lose your life. 10 days darkness, scare tactics, MSM, mainstream media, D's falling, R's walk away removed. Saudi Arabia, US, Asia, European Union. Disinformation is real. Distractions are necessary. Focus on US today while real happening in Saudi Arabia under same context. Military control, martial law, missile strike rogue, etc. Where is POTUS? Why is this relevant? Military operations, operators in U.S., Snow White, the Great Awakening.
Hey, Donna.
Yeah.
Yesterday, I saw a video and shared it. It's just a very brief clip. Might have got it from Pepe. I'm not sure. It says, the Saudi prince, no one is to touch a Saudi prince. And he's sitting at a table with his name plaque in front of him, and here comes Trump walking along behind him, and he gives him a simple pat on the shoulder like he would just anybody. And the guy turns his head like, who was that touched me? it was Trump. It was great.
Same guy that walked in front of the Queen.
Yep.
That's awesome. All right. Got to restock of my pop here. I got to have something to drink. I talk that much when I read stuff online. I'm like, okay, brain's got to take a break a second. May God also grant us the wisdom to ask what concrete steps we can take to reduce the violence and weaponry in our midst. Note when we just sent the go orders and when this tweet went live. Coincidence? Pray. Now is the time to pray. We are operational. God bless the United States of America. yeah, this is all a little bit much to be coincidence for me. I don't know about y'all, but it definitely feels and looks as if something huge is and has been going on for quite some time, and that we are indeed reaching the crescendo. Is the black swan going to be something that attempts to derail the election? Is this what Soros was calling for? Baby Soros, little bitty Alex baby Soros. Is this black swan what Trump, Flynn, Herod, and etc. have all pointed towards? Again, this is all speculation. I am merely putting things together, and I see them as relaying them. I am not at all saying we will have false flag attack on November 2nd, which leads to the military coming in and being operational on the 5th to clean up this mess. What I'm saying, though, is that I won't be surprised if all of the above mentioned does happen. And if it does, I hope I've done a good job outlining the reasons why you needn't fear. Yes, stand your ground. Don't sit idly by and wait for someone else to save us. At the same time, it is of utmost importance to be prepared and to remain calm in the face of chaos. I don't know what will happen. No one outside the Q team does. And so you listen to Phil Godlewski, whatever his name is, and the other people that are like him out there scamming and telling everybody what they want to hear. No, there's nobody that knows what's going on. And anybody that knows, that I happen to know, that might know, that possibly knows, they aren't saying a thing. They're not talking, people. But we can look and we can kind of assess and evaluate a little bit and say, well, it looks like maybe a storm's coming. You might want to get in out of the rain, right? Or it looks like, let's just say our food supply is in jeopardy. You might want to prepare a little bit. I mean, those are just all easy assessments we can all make. As always, my Substack content is free. If you wish to contribute by becoming a paid subscriber, please know that I'm beyond grateful for your generosity and support. Hope you all have enjoyed. As always, thank you so much for the continued love and support. Remember, friends, keep your chins up. Keep moving forward. Remember that God wins, and remember to adorn your armor every single day. God bless each and every one of you. Where we go one, we go all. And I would like to say thank you so much to Paul for this writing, and it's Paul Floret, and ask everybody to just check him out. Go read the whole thing. I didn't want to put the whole thing out there because then people get lazy and they decide, I already heard it on Brandenburg. I'm not going to go look at this and see what Paul did and support him. We need to support each other and go to what he's doing and read it for yourself, share it with others, and get this word out there, because I think we're going to see some stuff happening. I really do, but I've been saying that for quite a while, and don't know the timing. Not going to date fag everybody, because that's what everybody wants to have happen, and it's the dumbest thing you could do, right? I've been in the research groups and hanging out with Anons in the Anon communities for long enough, is that don't date fag. It just makes you look stupid. It makes everybody else look stupid too. We don't know the time or the day. And God even said that. God said that in the Bible. I mean, let's just go right back to the Bible. Everybody wants to disparage the Q post. You know what? You should go and look at them for yourself. Because
what else did they say? What you just read? It says pray.
And pray. And it's the Q posts are loaded with references to pointing back to God and to that doing the right thing. God's in control. Pray. Put God first. That's what we should be doing right now. What does the Bible say? Pray at all times. Makes it pretty easy, guys. It's pretty darn easy. We just
pray without ceasing.
Yep. Pray without ceasing. Pray. Pretty
well, another thing too is be prepared, but don't cling to everything, trying to hope everything will stay the same. If we want change, we have to be able to accept change.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I kind of like the there's different interpretations of some of the stories in the Bible. One of the ones that I like a lot about Lot's wife is that when it talks about her looking back and turning into a pillar of salt, one of the interpretations I've heard of that is that it wasn't literal salt, but that her entire personality basically turned salty, looking back on what they had and the life that they had, and constantly yearning for that for the rest of her life, and she never got past that. And I think that's kind of a beautiful way to look at that story, because it has a lot of applications to current times. You know, don't cling to everything that you know and all of the patterns that you developed, because there might be something better. And trying to cling to that and hold on to that and preserve that at all costs, rather than being willing to, you know, if you're asking for change, being willing to accept change and cope with that to be able to move forward to something better.
Exactly. Everything here is temporary. This is like, you know, we're not a person per se, the way that we classically think of this. We're a spirit inhabiting a meat body. That's what it really is. We're a spirit and that is inhabiting a body, but that's not us. And we live on even after we die. That's an assurance. I can assure everybody that that's true. And we don't need to be afraid of anything, because God has our days numbered. He has our life, our minutes numbered. He knows exactly what's going to happen to us. It's all been planned. It's been planned. It's been allowed. He has foreknowledge of it, whatever you want to say. But he has this in his hands, and it's going to be okay. You're going to go back to God, which is where you came from in the first place. He breathed into us to give us life, and we're going to go back to God, and it's going to be okay, guys. But you're going to have to turn to God, follow Him, and what's the best way to do that? Listen to Him, His Word, Scripture. Let's go ahead and play this a minute. Let's see if I can get it to come up. Sometimes it won't.
On October 19th, 2023, Wells Fargo warned its clients that all checking accounts are likely to be replaced with digital dollar.
Deuteronomy 6.
See what God has to say.
Verse 6 through 9. And these words that I command you today shall be on your heart. You shall teach them diligently to your children, and shall talk of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise. You shall bind them as a sign on your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. You shall write them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Isaiah 43, 1 through 3. Fear not, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by name. You are mine. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you. And through the rivers, they shall not overwhelm you. When you walk through fire, you shall not be burned, and the flame shall not consume you. For I am the Lord your God, the Holy One of Israel, your Savior.
That's a great place to stop right there. Do not be afraid. He is the Holy One. He's not going to abandon us, guys. We got this. Just go forward, and it's an adventure. Everything we have is God's anyway, so you might as well let go of it and just see what He's going to do. One way or the other, it's going to be good as long as you're close to God. Doesn't matter if you're sitting in a field with bunnies running around you, or frogs, or I don't know, who knows, looking at the plants or whatever, it's going to be okay. I like just going through the woods, looking at what's growing out there and stuff. I feel richer and more blessed there than I ever do in a group of people, is just looking at what God created. So
just proceed onward in faith and courage.
Yeah.
You know, God's got this.
God's got this, and it's his battle. If we think it's our battle, we're screwed up totally right then. There. We can go forward and do what God asks us to do. Battle's not ours. We're here, he's given us a part in it. He'll say, hey, can you go do this? And gives us something like a mom or dad would, because he can do it with or without us. You know, moms, dads, when you start out with your kids and you say, hey, you know, how about you do the dishes today? I'll show you how to do that. And kids get in and they start doing the dishes and they grow and they learn and such. And does mom and dad need one of the kids to do the dishes? No, it takes about 6 times longer instead of just doing it yourself. But that's not God's MO. He's a father. And so he's going to be patient. He's going to sit there as you're changing the spark plugs on your car like a dad would, right? Or only does it with heart issues, probably all issues, but he's all kinds of patient. He doesn't need us to do this. He could do it by himself, but he wants us to do it. He wants a relationship. He wants to see us as his children grow, just like moms and dads do. And it's absolutely beautiful. Well, let's go ahead and we'll come back to this, but we were all talking about outside of this Tron. And I'm not a movie or a TV person at all, but I get coerced into watching things once in a while. And quite honestly, okay, it's kind of fun, okay? But I watched both episodes of Tron recently, and there's some amazing coincidences, which I don't believe are coincidences at all. None whatsoever. Nada, not happening, not buying it. Now, you guys are Tronies too here at this point in time. And so we all have been kind of discussing this because it's kind of crazy. When did the first Tron came out? It was in 1980 what?
I think it was 1982. I'd have to look that up.
Okay.
It was sometime around there.
All right. Sorry, I'm cutting lettuce if it's noisy.
Oh, that's funny. He has a
1982.
Okay, 1982. Tron comes out. And who is the main figure in the movie Tron? Flynn, which is really kind of cool. And there's so many coincidences in this movie. It defies explanation. You could not even. I don't believe that this is a coincidence. Just saying, because it kind of talks about exactly what we have going forward at that time. Second Tron comes out. Same thing. It's crazy. You guys want to watch a crazy movie and look at it and frame it in what's going on in today's world? I think you're going to be really amused by it. But anyhow, Karen, you sent me a bunch of screenshots of statements that were made in Tron.
Yeah, because I couldn't watch the video, but I took a little time to skim through the script. And I sent you some stuff specific to Flynn, I think. Flynn talking or other people talking to him.
Yeah, it's crazy. Hang on a second. I'm see if Paul just jumped in.
I don't know if I've ever seen that one. I didn't even know until recently that there was more than one.
Yeah, both the original and the second one are phenomenal movies. And for anyone that's, I don't know, I kind of find the whole discussion about the simulation theory of the universe, you know, where the universe is just a simulation of something outside of it, you know, and that's something that Tron kind of ties into. But that and the whole multidimensional universe, there's several different theories around the multidimensional universe, and our universe is only a small 3-dimensional slice through a multidimensional space. And even the holographic universe theory, I find them all kind of funny because it's like they're all
same thing.
Yeah, they're all secular ways of bringing people back to exactly the same kind of concepts that are in the Bible.
And you can't deny that we live in a multidimensional universe. If Jesus walked through walls, okay? Jesus, the angels, they would appear and disappear. How does that happen? It's a multi-dimensional universe. I don't know how you could frame it, quite honestly.
That and simulation theory, they're basically one and the same. You're looking at something that is outside of our universe interacting with it, you know, and whether this is a simulation and we're all basically, you know, our spiritual bodies are just playing video game characters basically in this universe, or it's a multidimensional universe and, you know, this is actually a fraction of reality, but just a very small sliver of actual reality. Whether it's simulated or an actual fraction of it, the mechanism doesn't really matter. It's all the same thing. The effect of it is all the same thing. And
hard to get your hands around things that are spiritual to put them into words that people can understand.
Yep. And Tron kind of touches on that. But there's a lot more in Tron, a lot more messaging in a lot of different ways.
Well, it's like V for Vendetta, that clip that was there. I love that movie. It's a great movie. And I think that there's a lot of things that are told to us in the movies like White Squall and all that there. I threw that out there, didn't I? I did that. You guys all know what I just did, didn't you? So I'll show you. I've got something. It's hard for me to go back up in my Telegram feed, but I'll show you the picture of, we'll end with the picture that I want to show you, but let's go to the Destry thing that came up this week. Karen, since you're here, we didn't talk about it yesterday. I think we should talk about it. What do you think?
Up to you.
Okay, I have 20.
All right, here we go. I went ahead and let's see, I'm going to stop screen. I'm going to add this because a certain individual named Destry Payne put something out there and accused me of something that was absolutely false. Okay? So I think we're just going to play some of this because I'm going to draw the snakes out of the weeds here a little bit because this is crazy. So I'm going to go back to the beginning so that everybody knows, and it's going to take us a little while to get into this. Just bear with this a minute. There's a reason for this. Okay, this is one of the groups out there, which I would have to say I'm kind of concerned at the infiltration level and what was saying here. But there's a few things in here that are bold-faced lies. All right. And so we're gonna just expose it for what it is.
Okay, I have 27 at 9:16 p.m. South Carolina concurs. Wisconsin concurs. California concurs. Kentucky concurs. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you, concurring states. As is our custom now, we do go into our education part of the program. And typically, we put everybody on mute. And if you want to speak, you hit *6 to unmute yourself. And you can get in the question and answer queue. Destry, are we all set?
Yes, Roger.
That's Destry's voice.
Yeah, I suppose I'll go first with what I want to bring forward. So I'm going to just mute the board. Anybody can use *6 to unmute.
Mute everybody else.
Muted. You got static, echoes. It's not good. All right, thank you. Here in a minute, I'm going to do a screen share, but most of you on this call are aware of the troubles that have been happening with Michigan and the other states with these reprobates that have been causing their problems. And I spent the last few weeks really digging into what's behind it. And I found some pretty interesting stuff. I was questioning why Mike Flynn, General Flynn, behind Donna Brandenburg causing the problems in Michigan. I was wondering why quite a few of them out of there were sticking their noses into other states, and why these other states have had their problems. I wanted to bring forward what I've discovered, and it may connect dots for others. Might be able to add to it. I don't know. But we're all aware of the pedo problem. It's huge. Quite a few on this call are aware of the Pandora Papers and what's been going on with all the money laundering in New Hampshire and how they're connected and why certain people are protecting that, which happens to be some of the same certain people who have been behind the problems we're having. I have been in communication with Mike Gill. That's the gentleman that they tried to bribe him with $50 million to hide the Pandora Papers and not release them. Mike.
Where's the evidence? Okay, this is all he said, she said crap. And
Gill told him the
there you
same
go.
thing Elon told Amazon or Disney or whatever it was, what they can go do with themselves. Mike Gill has lost about everything he's had. He's in hiding, and they're threatening assassination if they find him, including his children. But I've been in communication with him. And apparently, those who were directly involved with the BS that took place in Michigan 6 months ago are involved with General Flynn and Vandersteel and a few others who have been hiding some of these pedos and trying to cover up the information. I want the people on this call to understand what's going on, why these things are happening. Like we've told you over and over, these people are illegitimate, fake assemblies. I don't know exactly how Montana or the bad ones over there on the West Coast are involved. I haven't gotten information on that yet, but that's what's still connected. I'm going to do a screen share, and I want to put a couple things up on the screen. These are right off of X. Gerald Brummel. Date of birth, March 8th, 1963. That makes him 60 years old. Anyways, there's a question brought up. Says, why was he hiding out at Ann Vandersteel's house? Agent Margaritaville. Says, now I understand Flynn has a list of child traffickers and he's on it. Again, why Vandersteel? Are they both in your network high-level witnesses? Bring up the next one. This, I don't know who this is, but it's calling Ann Vandersteel a traitor to the USA and also a Flynn tard. Line her butt up for treason. She always knew she couldn't wait. Involved with the Flynn team. They're dirty. They're all dirty. Says, turns out this guy that was arrested, that was hiding out with Vandersteel, he worked for General Flynn. Evergreen. Flynn's team seeing Brummel on the list. Question.
Evergreen is the name that was used for Hillary Clinton, and I have no idea what this guy's even talking about. I have met Ann Vandersteel a couple of times, but that's about as far as it went. She called me for an interview. It didn't go real well because the sound wasn't up, and I've never even heard of this guy that he's put out there or any of this information whatsoever. But boy, I guess Dusty's got this figured out.
Flynn, isn't Brummel one of us fighting evil with you, sir? They are the opposite, as they've seen the FBI, DOJ. Well, Flynn looks for child traffickers, maybe. The point is these folks are dirty, and we've got direct connections to what they have done.
And Destry knows.
Destry's got direct connection.
Yeah.
So people will understand why things are happening and why here at National, a lot of times we try to remain kind of quiet onto it because we're doing background research, trying to track things down, figure things out. Where is this coming from? And with my discussions with Mike Gill, a lot of that got connected. So not only is the deep state trying to hide all that stuff, the deep state's trying to stop us from being a legitimate ones that can go after them when we have enough counties and states settled. They want us stopped just as bad as they want all the exposure to this pedophilia stopped. That's what's behind it. So you get these idiots out here and these other...
Okay, that doesn't even make sense. They want this stuff stopped just like they want pedophilia stopped. It's like, what are you even saying? He contradicts himself right there.
The states trying to claim that National's bad and they got that we're not doing it right or whatever they want to say. It's a bunch of garbage. Just be aware. Do due diligence. Do your own research. All we can do is just put out what we've done, how we did it, and assist you along the way. That's our purpose here, and that's what we do.
To tell you
and
what
I'm
to
going to
think.
yield on this. Go back to you, Roger.
Okay, Destry, if I may, just for clarity's sake, can you tell us how does this guy Brumell connect into any one of the assemblies that came under attack?
The connection is what he's involved with in the pedophilia. That's his connection. He was hiding out under Vandersteel, which Vandersteel is behind quite a few of those that have been attacking our assemblies. Why was he hiding out at her house?
Okay, so the connection is between Vandersteel and the actors that are disrupting the assemblies.
Yes.
Okay, that wasn't clear. Thank you. Wasn't clear for me. Thank you. Anybody have any questions?
May I?
Yes, please.
You can probably stop it there, Donna.
Well, no, it gets better. Just a minute.
Oh, okay.
First, I'm hearing what it sounds like is tying General Flynn in with the darker forces. Did I just misunderstand that, or is it true, and why? I yield.
All right, General Flynn's a snake in the grass. Yes, he is involved with dark forces. Everybody looked up to Bill Barr when he first came in doing his bagpipes and going to do this and that, and what turned out with Bill Barr? Same thing's happening with Flynn. Flynn is protecting the pedophilia network.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Countering it, but protecting it. He's dirty. Now yield on that.
May I?
Yes, please. Name and state.
Cindy, Kentucky. I'd like to ask if it is possible that he could possibly be playing a dual role in trying to flush out the deep state, because I believe in General Flynn.
Good job, Cindy. You might be onto something there. That's awesome.
Well, in my opinion, anything is possible. But the attack he did through Donna Brandenburg to the Michigan General Assembly is outside of any role playing he would be doing with the deep state. There's no call, no reason whatsoever for him to even pull that stunt if he was role playing. What I call him a snake in the grass. I yield.
In terms, hang on one second. In terms of his role with Michigan, are you saying that he was the architect of the problem and that Donna didn't work on her own? Is that what you're saying?
That's correct. See, I asked, when I first found out about Donna and she was connected with Flynn, a couple times I gave her my phone number and asked her to pass it off to Flynn, which she said she did. I was never contacted. I wanted to have a one-on-one with him.
Now, I'm going to stop that right there just for a second and say, I told him that if the opportunity came up, I would try to pass it on. That opportunity did not come up, and I did not tell him that I passed it on to General Flynn. So this is one of those he said, she said, but let's see how many cart buy a story here.
Never happened. I get showing up to Michigan on a physical meeting. Oh, Donna Brandenburg's right there. She's right in the parking lot. Walked up to her and said hi. She took off out of there and disappeared and never came back.
That is a bold-faced lie. And Karen is here, and she was there and saw it because I said hi to him. This guy has got such a huge opinion of himself. This is just incredible. So I said hi, talked to him a few minutes. I'm going to tell you right now, somebody who's the size of a hobbit is not going to be someone I'm intimidated by. And that's the truth. I said hi to him, talked to him for a few minutes, glad to meet him, blah, 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 went into the assembly. And the thing of it is I had friends coming from all over the state, And this was like 10 miles from my house. So I decided to go over there and say hi to everybody. I could only stay an hour because I had a ham radio class after the fact in which I actually got my license. So I came in and said hi to anybody. I did not run out of the parking lot seeing Destry. Destry isn't a particularly impressively statured individual. And so I said hi. I went in and said hi to all my friends and watched.
So did you actually interact with him? Because I didn't even see that. I didn't know that you meet him?
He was standing outside by a truck, and I just said, "Hey, Destry, how you doing?" And I knew who he was, so I said hi to him. We talked for a few minutes, and I went into the assembly to say hi to my friends, of which I've talked to Destry a few times, but it's just been in passing because he wanted me to give something to General Flynn, which, just so everybody knows, if I have an opportunity to sit down and talk with him for a long time, I might. We generally don't talk in extensive periods of time. Okay. That's not how we interact. And if I've got a few minutes to talk to General Flynn, it's going to be something that I want to talk about, not being an information broker to someone else. If I have an opportunity to pass it on, I will if I've got time. I did not pass it on, and I never said I would. I told him that I would if time permitted. So let's go on. This gets better.
Because I showed up.
Okay, let's go back a minute. I took off afraid because he showed up. Really?
Meeting.
Freaking.
Donna Brandenburg's right there. She's right in the parking lot. Walked up to her and said hi. She took off out of there and disappeared and never came back.
Lie.
Because I showed up.
Lie.
She couldn't play dirty when I was there.
Lie.
Like I said, I've been connecting dots, figuring things out. This is what I'm coming up with. Waddles like a duck, quacks like a duck. It must be a duck.
Lady asked for the floor.
Yes. Isn't interfering with an assembly, wouldn't that be considered treason? I yield.
While the assembly is interim, that could be that could go either way. If we were out of interim, yeah, it would be.
Mayor?
Yes, please. Name and state.
It's Marion, Ohio. Hey, is Flynn still closely associated with Trump?
I haven't seen any direct correlation in the last 2 years, no.
Okay.
Another little strange thing that happened, Clay Clark, that Flynn's been hanging out with and doing all those Wake America tours. Well, I had Clay Clark's phone number, and I was texting with him. Started bringing up information about our assemblies, and he just flat out told me, stop. That was it, all capital letters. Didn't want to talk to me again. Blocked me. There's another red flag right there.
Because Destry's so important.
That's just another dot connecting. These people are not interested in our assembly. They're not interested in what we are doing. They are interested in stopping us.
We can confirm that with Vandersteel.
Oh, yes.
Confirm what?
Yeah, this
Mayor?
Okay, wait. Last one.
Lady first. Old Tony, please.
Tamara from Indiana. I do believe that Ann Vandersteel is definitely directly connected with David Straight, and she was connected with all of the Flynn bros that absolutely interfered with the election process of Maricopa County in Arizona. I believe they're part of the founders cult, and they're a very big problem. I yield.
Thank you. Tony?
Thank you.
Okay, so let's go back and clarify this nonsense a little bit because this is craziness. First of all, I did not run out of there, nor do I run out of anywhere if there's a challenge. It's just not in my nature, right? And I sure as heck am not going to run away from somebody who is probably, I don't even know if he's even as tall as I am, which is it was crazy. And secondly, after, it was a known fact that I was going to a ham radio class in the afternoon. Karen, you knew about it. Everybody knew about it. I just wanted to come and say hi. And after which I did pass the test on that day. So the evidence is there that I actually can prove exactly where I was. And so it was kind of nonsense because I was there with two of my sons also, one of which also passed the test on that day, as well as the club that we were at, the ham radio club that was distributing the tests there, right? And afterwards, what did I do, Karen? I went right back again, and we met up for dinner that night. My friends and I did. I didn't.
You passed your test. You had something to celebrate.
Yeah, we were celebrating, we were talking, and we were having a great time. I mean, we're a bunch of friends hanging out. And so we've got little Mr. The little Mr. self-aggrandized troll out there, Hobbit, absolutely kind of like manipulating the story just a little bit, shall we say? Because I didn't run out of anywhere. I went in the building and said hi. I was there with Tim Parker, and you were there, Pastor Tim, who's, you know, was on Wednesday mornings on my show for a long time. And I've got a bunch of pictures out there of me going inside after saying hi for a grand total of, I don't know, a few minutes with Destry. That's it. I said hi to this guy. This guy's a nothing to me. I don't know who it's like I've talked to him a few times. He wanted me to pass something on to General Flynn. You know what? General Flynn knows what's going on out there, guys. He's not a stupid guy. He is head spook. He was head of, intelligence. The guy knows everybody that's out there. You want to know where the bodies are buried? Ask General Flynn, for God's sakes. He's going to know. And so this little self-aggrandized hobbit that came up to me in the parking lot and wants to say that Donna Brandenburg ran away from him, in your face, buddy, in your face. And anybody that's on that call, do you realize that on that call, they called us all pedos who have been fighting for this? Who's out there fighting for this and getting the information out there? Karen, you were at one of their meetings.
That's why I posted some things last night, because I've been busy doing other things. I feel a little guilty about that because I have a lot of information that came from that summit that I've been wanting to share. I met Flynn there. Flynn came from Mar-a-Lago, where Donna was, where there was an event, Moms for America, I think it was, or some kind of mom's event. And he flew from that event all the way back to Michigan so that he could take his part in giving a presentation on that day. I learned so much. There is nothing being hidden with America's future, which Flynn is connected to.
And Mary Flynn.
Closely connected to. So is Flynn supporting pedophilia? Nonsense. I'm a witness to that. I didn't see Destry there. There was someone else from Alaska there, by the way. But I could say as a witness, the Flynn family despises pedophilia and is working well out of their way at their own expense to fight it. Because I met Mary there too. And I heard her speak. I talked to her myself. I had witnessed her talking to other people. She was in the seminars too. She is fighting like a Flynn, the human trafficking thing. So this idea that they're connected to pedophilia, well, their connection is that they're fighting it off and they're doing their part. I don't see Destry doing anything. I don't know. Maybe he is, but I haven't seen him do anything about pedophilia. Not that I'm saying he's just suggesting at all that he's supportive of it. I believe and I hope that he isn't. But the Flynn family is not supporting or hiding anything about pedophilia from what I have witnessed.
It's absurd. So Clary Sage just came on and said she was at the event too, and says, I second Karen's statement because I was at the event also. If you want to come on, just let me know. Say something in the chat and I'll pass the join link on. But this kind of nonsense, is happening in so many different organizations that they're going after the people who are actually trying to stop it. And so the only thing they got is they can disparage us and say and lie their tails off, because that's what they're doing. This whole thing. And then this other person that comes on and says, and Ann Vandersteel is behind it. I don't know. I've met and talked with her a couple of times, but I'd say probably not. You get close to Flynn and you're probably,
I don't know anything about her really.
You're going to be so heavily vetted, it's not even funny. But I know nothing about this guy. I've talked to Ann a few times, but not that many. And so it's like this whole thing is absolute nonsense. If I can tell you right now, General Flynn is and Mary Flynn, I know them. They hate anything to do with pedophilia. Tara Rodas, I've met her. She's the whistleblower for Health and Human Services. They hate pedophilia. They don't just jump on a call like this and start throwing out slanderous statements against people. They're actually out there naming the processes that need to be changed to stop the internal trafficking that's going on within our own government. The government's doing it. The government's the biggest human trafficking organization on the planet, our own government. And that's what they're fighting against. So I got a question here. Why are these people throwing these slanderous remarks out there? And, I've got a lot of questions.
I do too. I have some answers that I'm not going to talk about because that's assembly business. But for him to suggest that you are behind assembly problems, like you have had very little to do with the assembly. We haven't even talked about it on your show for some time. And there are reasons for that as far as I'm concerned. But for him to say that you are behind any of the problems is
absurd.
That's a good way to put it. I'm trying to watch my language. So my suggestion is
it's bullshit.
Listen to what he says. Is he going on hearsay or is he coming up with facts? Is he making a presentation of facts that can be supported? Does it make any sense? Because if things don't make sense with what you can see and what other witnesses are telling you, then you have to question the intention there.
I'm almost kind of wondering too if he just completely disregarded your conversation on the way into the event and tried to re-catch you on the way out, but didn't even was so absorbed in himself that he didn't even think about the conversation on the way in.
Well, I don't know, but what I do know is there was one statement that was said in there, and it was, I think I heard about it from, I heard about it, and it was that, I think it was Paul Thompson got up in front of everybody and said, I would rather deal with the devil than talk with you people or work with you people. I'm like, the heck kind of a statement is that from somebody that's a said leader of an organization? He would rather work with the devil. And now these people I'm like, well, I can go by a statement that maybe we've got a little issue there rather than trying to, I don't know, but there's enough lies in that statement that was in that call right there, and slanderous statement that I can prove was false. And we can go by that. So just so everybody knows out there, you're going to say something. I'm a little bit of a spook. So, and I've got friends who are really good spooks, and we're kind of watching everything, which if you're doing the right thing, shouldn't be worried about it. I know I'm getting watched every single thing I do. I could care less. I got nothing to hide. And I think all these games that people play trying to hide all this crap is absolutely despicable. And on a personal level, let's look at it on a personal level. If we want the government to work right or have our existence here on planet Earth working right, we're going to have to stop with the games and just be honest. Why is it that we have so many people out there that will do the right thing only when people are watching them? You should do the right thing all the time. not in secret little conversations, not in and are these secret meetings and secret handshakes and all this crap going on. If you're all that in a bag of chips, maybe you should just get out there unscripted, talk off the cuff, and let the chips fall where they may. We got the Republican Party doing it. We got the Democrat Party doing it. We got the Assembly doing it. We got all of these entities doing it. It's all a bunch of crap. If you want any respect, get out there and tell what's going on.
And on that note, the taxpayers meeting tomorrow.
Great segue there, Ralphie.
Open to the public, and this is, a state central committee meeting.
Who would have guessed that you could actually join into something as wonderful as this?
Open to the public with at least one known infiltrator coming.
Yeah, and we know who he is, which is funny. And he's attached to the person because I watched him in a meeting plugging a video who asked me for 20 grand to run and said, if you don't contribute that, you will never get on the ballot. I'm like, well, I don't pay to play, so y'all are screwed with this one. Seriously.
Get on the ballot without the money. That's a good lesson for America, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
And despite knowing and
don't blame Donna Brandenburg. Vote the right way instead of split the vote and end up with the same thing and wonder what the heck happened and why. Time to get a little smarter out there, people.
And despite knowing of the infiltrator coming, are you afraid of them?
Am I?
Yeah.
No. Are you kidding me?
Is the party afraid of this infiltrator?
No.
Well, there you go.
If this
somehow
individual comes in, he might get laid out in front of God and everybody if he decides to try to play ball in that way. Because we're not going to do that way.
Somehow the party is, not afraid of criticism, not afraid of infiltration, and still presenting things out to the public and being open and honest with people. Wow, isn't that amazing?
That's amazing. We don't have to hide in the corners like Christina Karama did and had the whole Republican Party, bitching and complaining about, oh no, it's Brandenburg's fault that she was removed. Whatever shall we do? And then go and have less than 100 people vote somebody else in who's got a few things that I'm questioning right now. Let's just see what happens here. We're going to see if Brandenburg prediction here is right. Because I think,
speaking of money, I noticed that this event is free for the public.
It is.
You don't have to pay for a table. You don't have to make a donation to a quote unquote donation to the party and exorbitant fees.
Yeah, this isn't a fundraiser. If you feel like you believe in us, then and you want to join us, that's great. Join us. If you feel like you want to give something to this organization that doesn't have any money behind it whatsoever, which I think is kind of a beautiful thing, then by all means do that. And you want to know something, as vice president of the U.S. Taxpayers Party of Michigan, Constitution Party, working with the National Party on and off, to try to help do some communications and such, I can tell you right now that all the donations are going to be out there in a public manner, and also with what we spend money on. We don't care because there isn't any money there. Go ahead and fight over nothing. What happens if somebody comes in as an infiltrator? And you can't squeeze blood out of a turnip, people, and that's the way it is. It's like, you come on in and join us and we'll have a great time. There's no money there that you're going to be able to fight over. So if you have a business this is what happens in the Republican Party, all these businesses come forward and they're all going to be, oh, we're patriots. We want to be part of this. Pay up because we want to have part of this pie that you're bringing in with fundraising. It's happening over and over and over and over again. I'm not kidding you. I saw it firsthand. I saw the whole process from the beginning to the end, the Republican process. They're engineering everything. The whole thing is engineered. Hey, guess what? We got another friend on. Hey, Clary Sage, how you doing?
Hey there. Good. How are you?
Awesome. Thanks for joining us. That was kind of nice that you joined in the, on kind of a last minute basis. So what do you have to say about this pedophilia nonsense that Destry, the Hobbit, decided to throw it out there. So I'm just going to pitch it back to him, that little hobbit. I didn't run away from anything.
Yeah, I feel like that was the most bizarre statement I'd ever heard. Like, he was not making any sense at all. I have no idea who this guy is. So just basing it solely on what I heard at that moment, he made no sense. And he's a moron. And you attack people that are actually fighting pedophilia speaks volumes of a person's character. And so what I was saying in the chat was I second Karen's statement, because I too was at that same event, and I spoke to these people in person. I spoke to Mary Flynn. I spoke to Mike Flynn. I talked to a bunch of the guests, including some of the whistleblowers. And what I took away from that was the authenticity of these people and their character and what they're doing, what they're fighting for. And it's not about an individual. They're fighting for kids. So to say that they're the pedophilia, like they're into pedophilia or the pedophiles, it makes me so sick. So
yeah, it's just absurd. And when you find one lie out that somebody's told, you can pretty much guarantee there's going to be error in the rest of their statement, unless they're man enough to come out and clarify this and say, I'm sorry. But I don't think that's going to happen. I'm going to just guess that that's not going to happen. But somebody should owe a bunch of people a huge apology. And there's more than one in that call that jumped on the bandwagon and basically slandered people who are working for helping children. It's shameful.
Right. I don't know how it was kind of amazing to watch him tie in all these random things into one, and it's all conjecture, and it's based on his feelings and emotions, how he feels about certain people, and he feels slighted for you not passing on information. Like, you're sorry, dude, you're not that special. It makes me want to look him up and see what he's all about. And if he could retract his statement, that would speak volumes of him.
I can help you with that, actually. Would you like me to help you with that?
Oh, I would love that. I was like, I need to troll this guy because he's like literally full of crap.
Hang on a minute. We'll see what I got here.
But yeah, it does put everything else he says into question. Thank God there was one person with sound mind saying, well, maybe Flynn is, not what he appears to be. But still, nobody spoke up for Donna Brandenburg. They just assumed bad things.
Yeah, nobody ever does. I don't really care either. So the great thing about me is that I know the truth, and so does God. And I don't have to back down to anyone. And let's see. I'll see if I can find. I think where I saw the last picture. I was going through stuff here.
Well, I guess in the meantime, do you guys want to maybe kind of expand a little bit on some of the things you learned from the conference?
Well, I'll let you do that, Clarity Sage, because I just posted some more last night. I've been posting memes that I create and share some of the things I've learned. But you go ahead, tell us what you learned.
So I went into it not knowing a whole lot about the actual event itself. And when I got there, I was like absolutely stunned. I was amazed. I liked that there wasn't like an enormous turnout because it allowed me to actually interface with people. But I was surprised that there wasn't a huge turnout at the same time because the cause is so just. That first night, they did kind of like a meet and greet. I'm empathic. I can read people and their underlying character. And I was looking for people to be deceptive. And I did not detect that. You could see the seriousness in people's faces and what they were. And this is a hard topic to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And they had this open panel discussion, which they didn't pre-plan. It was totally organic. You have multiple people from different parts of our government, working for our government, speaking a similar story. And now these are based on their own actual accounts. So it's not secondhand. And one thing that Tara said to me, or not to me, to the audience, that really struck me was her working for DHS at the border in that capacity was like her ultimate career move. Like, this made sense for her to do this. This meant everything. And when she said, when I realized I was on the wrong side, it struck her soul to the core. And so a lot of these people have seen things that nobody wants to talk about it or even know that it exists. They saw it, some of them multiple times, which is what's giving them this momentum to fight this. People need to stand up. And so I guess the authenticity of the people that were speaking at this event, it was very powerful. I didn't get to do a lot of the workshops, but I heard really good things about it. So yeah, the overall event was amazing, I thought. And hello, Flynn, Mike Flynn, he's behind that. Was America First?
Mm-hmm.
America's Future.net.
America's Future, which is an old organization. That surprised me. But anyway, so he he asked his sister to kind of take the reins of this. So what their family is and has been doing echoes all of that with this organization. I don't know. I can't speak more highly of that event. That's kind of my synopsis.
Here you go. Here's America'sFuture.net, and I just had. So this is what it's all about. And we had. Let's see if we've got the. There's events that you can get involved in and such.
Looked like there's one coming up in Illinois.
There is. Let's see if I can. There, General Flynn. People's
now this
Protecting
information, this is not new to me. I've been anon for going on, I don't know. I've lost track, over 5 or 6 years. Who knows at this point? But so some of this stuff, it doesn't surprise me. It's still not easy. A couple of the things I had kind of discovered when I was at that event was more, specific, I guess, stories and the impact that has. You think 85,000 kids last year. How do they lose 85,000 kids? And why do they put minors into cartels' hands? Like, that doesn't even make sense. And some of these very young children, a lot of them go to, similar places. They have these, I don't know what to call them, camps, these dwellings. You have men and women, actual pedophiles, that seek this kind of thing out, if you will. And some of these children don't live more than 2 years after they've been trafficked, which is human slavery. So 2 years, it's just, and you think about the amount of kids just in 1 year that go missing. A lot of them probably aren't alive. So what are we going to do about that?
I would say you're right. So this is something that Senator Chuck Grassley sent out, and it was a letter to DHS and FBI demanding action to find children placed by HHS/ORR after discovering what he says is new evidence of suspected trafficking of migrant children. My office is working diligently with the whistleblowers to identify as many missing children as possible in hopes they can be found and saved. I expect the cooperation of DHS as well as full cooperation of HSI, FBI, HHS, and any NGOs involved in this critical mission. Grassley's letter summarizes several cases of potential human trafficking and vetting failures. Where are the missing children? That's the $1 million question right there. It's like I'm very thankful that Senator Grassley put that out. Those of us who've been in the Anon community for, 5, 6, 7 years or so, it is one of those things that a lot of us have known this going on for a very long time and have been fighting behind the scenes on this as best we can, and absolutely disgusted by this. And it's really awesome that It's coming out. It's a tough subject. I'm not going to kid you. I watched that when I really got in the game and was just absolutely horrified. I saw a little boy who was laying across his dead father's chest, and they literally took his heart out, ripped his heart out alive, beating. And it was that moment. My heart, I thought I was going to die for about a day and a half there. I couldn't believe what I just seen. And it was like, okay, it's time to throw this thing down, and we're going to end this fight, because it's true. It's what's happened. It's what's still happening. And it's like, if you're not in politics because you don't like politics, well, you know what? Bad politics is what's enabling all of this to happen. And I hate it too. I hate politics. One of the lousiest things I can tell you, and that I've gotten involved in, I don't like politics. I'm not a politician at all. I'm the worst candidate, arguably, that ever ran. And because I didn't even know how to be a politician when I got up there. I just get up there and I talk, right? I don't write off notes. I don't script anything, and didn't know one thing about it. But I said I was willing, and I got asked, and I said, okay, I guess I got to figure this thing out. Because why? Because there's real people's lives behind the choices that we make in politics, in the political realm. And we need to get back to self-governance and cut all of these criminals that are sitting in the elected seats. They got to be gone. And I mean, all of them. From top to bottom, we have to clean out what we have become aware of as our government, which I don't believe it is at all anymore. I think it's so infiltrated that this isn't even remotely what the founding fathers had intended. And more than that, they're using the system to commit crimes.
If people could simply accept and truly accept in their hearts that this idea of slavery, modern day slavery, if you want to term it that, child sex trafficking, you acknowledge that it exists and it's pervasive, then you have to ask yourself, why is the border open? Why do we allow these people to come in? Are the cartels that strong and scary that they, like our own country, can't fight them off? And if not, then our country is facilitating in this in the trafficking of humans. And so you look at that border wall, it was, everything was ready to go to finish off, and they fought tooth and nail for it, and here it remains open. There's a reason for that.
Yeah, hey, one of our companies was on the border wall working for President Trump, and working to secure the border. We were doing some of the trenching work down there for the border wall, and it was so close to being completed. And when they walked away from it, millions and millions of dollars of equipment was left out there in the desert. And what they paid for the companies that were working on this to stand down was more than what it would have cost to finish the wall up. And then you look at the dollar amount spent in Ukraine and all over the place, money laundered away. I hope that this is my hope. Okay. I'm going to just tell you this. My hope is that the good guys are in control to the point that money, they're like, hand it over. And the bad guys didn't even know where it was going, but they intercepted it. I'm hoping and praying to God that that's the case. I don't know, but that's my prayer, because if that's the case, it's going to all come back to the people they stole it from. And then it's going to take all of us, not to say how much money can I get out of what's paying back here, but what do we do to put this nation back on the rails, to get business going, to take care of these our elder population, to take care of parents or of children who have been trafficked. And this is going to be a huge effort, and every single one of us is going to have to step up to the plate here and get in the game. And I'm hoping and praying to God Almighty that this is what's happened. Anything is possible with the Lord right now. And I'm not afraid to go forward at all. And I know none of you guys are either. We're not afraid of this. It's like, pull the pen and let's get down to business. It's not gonna change anything. We're gonna have problems. Let's get her done. We need to get this thing done, and so we can. It's gonna be a little painful. It's okay. Not afraid of that. We're gonna get in there, and we're gonna put this thing right back on the rails again. We're Americans. We're mutts. Nothing's gonna stop us. We're gonna go in there and do the right thing, and it's not for money. It's for love of this country, our fellow Americans, the people that fought and died for this nation, for us to have freedom. And by God, we're going to carry this thing through. And what they started, we're going to continue, and we're going to finish this fight with this deep state. They picked a fight. They got one.
Our children are not for sale.
They're not for sale. Some of us can fight, and some of us love to fight bad guys.
And temporary discomfort is worth it for the long-term gain.
Absolutely. Set your
Fix
jaw.
the problem.
Fix the problem. Set your jaw, just like General Flynn did. Remember what he looked like in court when they asked him to change his plea? I'll never forget that moment. He was like, no. And that jaw was just about as set, as solid. I think he could have taken a shot from anybody on the planet, like to the chin, and he wouldn't have budged. He is one of the most inspiring things I've ever seen in my life, because he wasn't gonna stop. He wasn't gonna walk away from this, and neither will.
I think everything we've talked about today is about how we are learning from everything that we've discussed today. We need to be aware. We need to be invested in seeking awareness and truth, learning to discern, having a critical thinking cap on all the time, and then making decisions based on our duty and responsibility to take action when action needs to be taken. We have to instruct our officers in law and guide them to what they are supposed to do. When they do right, praise them. When they step out of their authority, criticize them and remove them if they don't return to what they're supposed to be doing and solve the problems of the past. If we were doing that, we wouldn't have this problem. But we have to learn how to do this so that we can prevent this problem and others from happening in the future. All these things that have happened to us now are because we haven't been doing what we're supposed to be doing, every single one of us. And it starts with that awareness. And like Clarity Sage was saying, you have to become aware of what's happening before you can say, oh, now I've got to do something about it. Once you see it, once you know, once you have witness, once you have knowledge, then you have to take action. What is your role to play? I'm always preaching on that. It might be joining the assembly and learning more about how things are supposed to be operating and participating in that. It might be doing what Donna's doing in the de facto while we have that corporate government to try to set things in place and reduce the consequences of our past decisions and failures while that's what we have to deal with. It may
how to
be
tear it down.
fighting human trafficking directly. It might be being the best mother you can and pulling your kids out of school. Whatever your role to play is, you have a duty and responsibility to do it. And are you going to do it, or are you just going to sit on the couch and say, well, we need to, and then not do it?
Or they need to. That's what's worse, is I cannot tell you how many times on the campaign trail I had people look at me with absolute disgust and say, you work for us. And I'm like, no, I don't. I was campaigning for the job, first of all, with my own money, and you aren't helping me on this. And, just like throwing out, ultimatums on that. And if people work for, if you're going to be, if that's the way it is, then people suck as managers. Because a manager would get in the game and have their hands on someone who is an employee and not let it get so far out of line, right? Happens to everyone, okay? It does happen to everyone. It's from time to time. However, with that, we don't even know what that's supposed to look like. And so we're learning, as you said, to your point, Karen, we are learning. And I think once we get the rats cleaned out, because that day's coming. I believe it is. You don't mock God. If God has to do it himself, he's going to get her done. And once the rats are gone, I think we're going to have a really interesting time. that's where we get to stand together as family again, be compassionate, kind to each other, to realize what we went through, because I think we're going to have a lot of stunned people out there that maybe still don't have a grip on what's going on out there, that are just going to be broadsided by the breadth and depth of the criminality that are out there and the things that we were taught to believe that are absolutely not true at all. There's a lot out there that we're going to have to come to terms with, and that's okay. We'll make it through. We stand together, and we're going to make this through as one family, the family of God Almighty. And we're going to find those lost lambs, and we're going to help, dry people's tears. We're going to help, help set things right. It's going to be a glorious time. I can't think of anything more rewarding in the whole world than to be a part of an effort like that, apart from money. Just doing things because it's the right thing to do, with a whole bunch of friends that are willing to stand arm in arm and say, you know what? We got this. This is our country. This is our world. We got a little maintenance to do, and we're going to have a lot of fun doing it without the evil that we've had, that we've become accustomed to dealing with. It's going to be okay, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And this is one of those fights that we need to run right into and say, it's going to be okay, everyone. Just relax. Don't let your emotions get the best of you.
I think another thing too is, be prepared mentally for change, but also be prepared physically for change. Get yourself in a position where you can take care of yourself, your family, and your community, so that you are in the event that things change, you are not a hostage. You can't be taken as a hostage for
coerced, manipulated, or anything. Stand your ground.
Exactly. Get yourself to the point where you can stand independently of that as things move around you, that you can take care of your family, because you may have to, and you may have to take care of your community as well to help kind of get people back on the rails,
Yep.
And that preparedness is an important part of this. Get prepared and stay prepared, both mentally and physically, for anything coming.
Yeah. Okay, guys. Well, I'm going to jump off here a minute. Hang on one second. You want to run through? Go ahead. We're going to jump off here just a minute. Hubs just came back on, and y'all heard about what happened with my husband. So he just walked through a minute, and we're going to grab something to eat. So, but he's doing better. I just want everybody to know that he is on the upswing here, and things are going to happen in life, things you can't control. They thought he was having either a stroke or a heart attack this week. That's why we were in the hospital. And it was apparently it was a viral attack, something similar to Epstein-Barr type thing, where he lost the feeling in half of his body and function. It was a little extreme, shall I say. Things are going to happen, and we're going to have to be able to deal with this sort of thing as we go along, but it's going to be okay. Just stand tough, and we got this. I'm going to go ahead and let's go ahead and finish off with a prayer. We're going to do it as an avatar here in a minute. I'm going to see if he's going to come back through or not. Let's just say a prayer a minute, and then we'll get back. We'll get back to the thing. I'd like you to come back on again, Clarity Sage. This was great. And actually, she's one of my buddies that's on our Anon call on Friday night. So a bunch of us, and so I love her very much. So I know her outside of this, not just from the chat. And thank you for coming on. So let's just say let's do this again. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so very, very much for this wonderful day that you've given us, the opportunities ahead of us today. And knowing that you work all things for good to those who love you and are called according to your purposes, which is all of us. We accept any job you give us, any challenges you give us, both good and bad, knowing that you're leading us through it. You're teaching us, you're strengthening us, you're testing us, you're showing us a way to grow up a little bit out of our selfishness, out of our self-centeredness, and actually be more like you, which is loving to the people around us, our families, our communities, this world that you've given us, so that we have a bigger, broader sense of your creation. It's not all about us. It's about you. It's about each other. It's about being selfish. It's about being out there in service to this world and this nation. It's about being caretakers, stewards of all that you've made. None of this belongs to us. And for us to hold on to it is absolutely absurd. And we're sorry. Each and every one of us has fallen short of your glory. And we ask your forgiveness for those times and thank you for your forgiveness, as well as setting us back on our feet again and helping us to do the right thing. Let everyone out there know how precious they are, that they're loved beyond all measure, that there's no words to describe how much you love every single person out there. I ask that you would enable us to do the right thing in our thoughts and our deeds, that you would help us to have an absolute certain communication from you that we cannot get away from if we're stepping off the path, even if it's not an overt sin, but something that you just don't want us to do or be involved in. Guide us every step of the way, that we may live and walk on this earth in your presence at all times, showing as your body here on this earth, showing what you would do in each and every situation. And we love you so much. You're a great friend to us. We want to be a friend to you. We just love you so very much. In the name of Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
So with that said, let's go ahead. Oh, hang on a minute. Start camera. I think Hope's coming through. Let's see. Just give me a few more seconds, okay? And so with that said, I just want to tell everybody out there, we love you. Hang on a minute. We love you. We love all those whom you love. God bless you. God bless all those whom you love. And God bless America. Make it a great day. Make it be so. And remember, go to BrandenburgForGovernor.com, because I'm the best non-conceder who has ever not conceded any election. And I would love to have the discussion with President Trump someday, the rightful president of the United States, just so if he's out there listening. I don't know, probably not. But at any rate, I'd love to have the discussion about non-conceding with you. So at any rate, love y'all. And you guys stay on the line for a minute. I'm going to end, and we will see you Monday, God willing. Have a great weekend.